What's going on, everybody? I'm Larry.
I'm Vito.
And on this episode of Geeking Poetic, we are going to talk about one of our favorite subjects of all time.
Mars.
Mars factoring into books, movies, all kinds of pop culture stuff. And then we're going to talk about our top 5 favorite Mars movies and count them down and see what comes from there. Make sure Megan and Vito don't get into a wrestling match over some of them. We try anyway. So stay tuned.
Yeah.
What's going on,
What
guys?
is up?
It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's been a long time since a rock and roll. No, it's been a long time since we've been here in the studio.
Yeah.
What's going on, everybody?
What is up?
Welcome to Geeking Poetic Podcast. And I am your host, Larry Roberts, along with my co-host.
Vito Marchese.
And along with...
Megan Guess.
Yeah, we're happy to be here.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Have you missed us?
Home sweet home.
I don't think they've missed us probably too much. They're like, oh, fuck.
These guys again.
These guys are going to talk for like 3 hours about nothing.
Well, ain't nothing because we're talking about Mars today.
Fuck yeah. Vito getting right to it,
Yeah.
man. He's like, I ain't wasting no time.
He's got so much to talk about. There's
I do.
no wasting time tonight. Let's get it done.
Yeah, so that is the subject. The last time we did a proper studio podcast, we were talking about Harrison Ford.
Yeah.
And we've gone off and done all sorts of other shit. Did all sorts of movie reviews and news and all sorts of stuff. But yeah, we're back at it, and we're going to talk about the planet Mars. Or more specifically, we're going to be talking about Mars in like...
Its impact on pop culture and...
Yeah, books, films, you know. Not so much music,
Yeah, that's true.
you know.
Unless you're a David Bowie fan.
Yeah, or pump up the volume.
Man.
Pump up the volume, dance, dance. M-A-R-R-S, Mars, yep. That's where it's at. No?
Oh,
It was for me when I was a kid, man. But
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a good subject. What made us decide we were going to talk about this? Can you even remember? Because it goes back. This was one of the first things we decided we wanted to talk about. Like, even though it wasn't the first thing we obviously did, like when we first decided we were going to do this stupid ass show, we were like, we got to talk about Mars.
I don't know. I mean, I know you and I over the years have talked about space and, you
Yeah.
know, science and all that stuff. So I know Mars was in our combined...
Wheelhouse.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. Yeah, I just think it's I mean, who isn't fascinated with Mars even
Right.
now, even in the 21st century, you know? When we were kids, see, cuz like for me it started as a kid.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that obviously with some of the movies that I'm going to talk about, but when I was a kid, it was, especially being a kid in the 70s or even in the 80s, it's like Mars still had that kind of mystique about it where it was like you didn't know what to expect from Mars. I mean, we kind of, by that point, it was kind of like, well, don't expect like green aliens that are living on Mars because we're pretty sure that ain't going to happen.
Yeah.
But there's always just been this whole kind of like what if factor about Mars, you know, because they're still coming back with news about like what if they find some kind of microbial life forms on there, and what does that mean? Is there life coming yet, or was there life millions of years ago that's been wiped out? Like, is Mars an Earth that was, you know, decimated by
Prematurely or whatever.
yeah, you know, was it decimated by a meteor strike or some kind of crazy nuclear-ish type catastrophe that wiped out the planet and made it the way it is now?
Or maybe two warring civilizations got into a nuclear war on Mars and destroyed each other.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Didn't they just find like a 12-mile lake underneath the ground on Mars?
Yes.
Yeah.
I did see something about that, but of course Meg has to come up with like the details of things that like you just we're 5 minutes into this and you totally just stumped the two big fucking Mars geeks on the show.
Sorry.
Yeah, what do you know more about that? Did
Not
you?
really, no. that was it. Thanks for busting me out there. Appreciate that.
Well,
No.
you know about as much as we. Yeah, I thought I heard something, but it was pretty recent, right?
Yeah, it seems like it was recently. They found 12-mile lake or
river
or something like that, a body of water underneath the ground, underneath one of the ice caps.
Oh, okay.
So they're wondering, because they found life in the ice caps in the Antarctica and stuff like that. So they're wondering if it'll be there too.
Right. It could be.
Could have another Europa on our hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All these worlds are yours, except Europa. But we're not talking about that movie today because it doesn't have anything to do with fucking Mars, man.
We'll get there soon, though, guys.
Yeah, we need to. I wonder if anybody out there is even going to know. There's probably like 2 people that are going to be like, I know what that's from. Well, hopefully there's more than that because we're going to totally talk about 2001 and 2010 at some point because those movies are awesome.
Yeah.
But,
well, 2010 anyway.
2001 is really good for what it is. Come on. I mean, it's of its time.
Yeah, I like the book better, but...
yeah, okay, I agree with you on that one.
Yeah, but to be honest, I haven't seen 2001 in a long, long time, and I was younger when I watched it, so...
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't as sophisticated as I am today with my movie choices, so... I mean...
Well, the last time I watched 2001 was when we flew to South America.
That's right.
With November's Doom to play some festivals down there. And I, like a genius, decided... We did an overnight flight. And how long was that? It was a pretty long flight. It was like 8 hours.
Yes.
Yeah, something like that.
That.
It was a pretty long flight, and it was an overnight flight. So the plane was like totally dark with a bunch of people who predominantly didn't speak English and stuff. So it was just
You wanted something to put you to sleep?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, I was, well, sort of. I was just, they had all sorts of really good movies to choose from on the flight because it was one of those ones that had the screen in the back of the headrest in front of you, and you could choose what you wanted to watch. Like it had dozens of movies. It was fucking awesome, actually. But out of all of those, yeah, because it was kind of late, and we still had another 6 hours to go or some shit like that. And I saw 2001. I was like, this is one of those movies that I'm always like, I need to revisit 2001. Like I need to sit down and watch this again, because I know it's a great movie, but being stuck in one place on a plane is probably the best option for that.
No escape.
Because you can't escape. I mean, I guess I could have turned it off if I wanted to, but I was just like, no, I'm going to put it on. And I made it like maybe 40 minutes or so into the movie, and then I fucking passed out. But that's not the end of the story. So then what ended up happening is just in time for later in the movie when David Bowman, like, when all hell breaks loose and it starts getting all like trippy and psychedelic and all this stuff with all that
Stargate or whatever he goes through.
He goes through that kind of Stargate type thing and all this. And I woke up because I had headphones on and it got real loud because the rest of that movie is real quiet, just like very serene and quiet. And there's all this classical music. They play the whole soundtrack is all classical music. So it's very chill. Mm-hmm. Even when motherfuckers are getting killed and shit, it's just kind of like chill. It's like, oh, damn. Like, oh, fuck. Hal just killed that dude. Damn. Okay. And that's like about it, Then it gets to that scene. And all of a sudden it gets all fucking crazy. And it like woke me up on this plane. I'm all like clammy and uncomfortable. I was like, like sitting there. Fucking Gary, my drummer, is next to me like fucking... like drooling on my shoulder, literally like drooling on my shoulder. Like lights are all out on the plane. Vito, you were sitting like somewhere else. And I was just like, oh, and I was all like, I don't know. It like woke me up so abruptly. And then I watched the last, whatever it was, half an hour or 20 minutes or whatever it is of the fucking movie. And then it ended. And I was just like, man, I'm really weirded out. Like, especially being on a plane, I like kind of tried to look out the window and I couldn't really see much. And so I'm like, however, 30,000 feet in the air over the fucking Atlantic Ocean or whatever the fuck. And yeah, that was weird. So that's like my 2001. That's like I associate 2001 with that. But 2010 is a great movie.
Oh, yeah.
fucking awesome movie.
Fucking awesome for sure.
And you haven't seen either of
I
them,
haven't
right?
seen either of them, so let's not talk about them anymore. We'll save it for when we do it.
No, I'm going to spoil the
No.
whole thing.
No.
Even though it has nothing to do with the
yes,
topic.
let's go back to Mars. I want to talk about Mars. Vito is anxiously awaiting Mars.
Yeah, I mean, you
Look at his T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get your ass to Mars.
Get your ass to Mars.
This is a knockoff Chinese one too, because they spelled space race wrong.
Does it really?
I'm sorry, they spelled race wrong. It's RASE. And then mission has one S.
Mizion. Is Space Race Mizion.
It's supposed to be, I think, a cheap knockoff of the Mars One program or the Mars One project. I don't think it has to do with Total Recall.
Probably.
That's why I got it. But
Yeah. It's cool.
Yeah, I like
Either way. I kind of like it more because it's a fucking weird Chinese knockoff.
Yeah.
I like shit like that, you know. So yeah, I mean, so Vito, this is kind of more your thing than anybody's thing. So like, can you remember, like, for as long as I've known you, you've been infatuated with aliens and UFOs, outer space, all that kind of shit. But do you remember what got you into Mars? Like, what made you? Was there a specific movie or book or something?
I know, as far as I can remember, I've always loved War of the Worlds 53.
Okay.
So I don't remember when I saw it, but I know I was young.
Okay.
And I know I rented it from the library because that's what I used to do a lot when I was a kid. And ever since that movie, I was like, holy shit. Is this what Martians are going to look like? They're going to look like these fucking 3-fingered suction cup aliens that are going to invade Earth and kill us all.
They're going to look like Assignment.
That's exactly what they look like.
If you watched our teasers, you'll know the significance of this fucking asshole. This caused a whole bunch of problems.
That was a good gag.
But anyway,
so I cite that movie as the jumping off point for me.
Okay.
For my like fascination with Mars.
Conveniently, that's mine as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, because I saw it when I was like 5.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I was 5, 4 or 5. Yeah, I think it was 5. But anyway, yeah, same thing. And I can get a little more into it when we talk about the movie more in depth, because we're going to. You have to. I mean, that's not much of a spoiler for people, because fuck.
Yeah.
You know, if you're going to talk about Mars movies and you don't talk about the original War of the Worlds, you're just fucking a douchebag.
Yeah.
So, but that kind of started it for me, especially of all things. You know what really kicked it off for me was the beginning of the movie. After the credits, you know, it starts out with the whole thing with the, you know, war has broken out and blah, 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 and the human race is, and then it goes, the War of the Worlds, you know, with Gene Barry and all that shit. And then it goes into that overdub section with Sir, what's his face?
We're talking about first they tried Pluto, but realized it was too cold. And I think they conveniently skip over Venus during that intro narration, if I remember correctly. They list all the planets except for Venus.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it was I'm looking at my notes right now because I'm cheating everybody. Sir Cedric Hardwicke.
There you go.
That was it. He does that voiceover thing when he's talking about, you know, they couldn't go to Mercury. That shit was too hot, you know, and everything. And yeah, and then they didn't mention Venus for some reason.
It was a conspiracy. They didn't want people to know that there's people living on Venus.
Yeah, maybe they were like, if we just don't mention it.
Told you.
Yeah, she has a whole thing about that. Wait, explain that again before we go. What was this?
When I was like in high school or something, I came up with this idea for like a book or something, just obviously fictional. Okay. And it was like the planets, as you get closer to the sun, they become more inhabitable. So that's why we're third planet from the sun. So we're inhabitable. Well, eventually, like another planet's going to come into play that's going to come in front of us in the sun somehow. So like Saturn and all them, we were on those planets there before, but they got bumped back, so they were too cold, and we couldn't stay there anymore. So we went to Mars and blew ourselves up. And then now we're on Earth, and eventually we're gonna end up on Venus and see.
And maybe we like evolve differently, like physically, like we could live, maybe, you know, because like as we are right now, we couldn't have lived on Saturn.
Right.
But maybe millions and millions, like 700 million years ago or 2.5 billion years ago, maybe we were a different form.
Exactly.
Yeah, because, that's interesting. It's an interesting concept.
Yeah, that'd be something different.
Yeah.
Have you been reading Ben Bova?
Why is he kind of do
Did
that
he
sort
already
of
beat
stuff?
me to
No,
that?
but Ben Bova, unfortunately, this book is the original pressing that I got back in fucking grade school. So as you can see, it's in worse shape for wear because I've read it so many times.
Yeah.
But this man is my favorite science fiction author of all time.
That's cool.
And he has a series of books called The Grand Tour. And he goes through each planet in our solar system, and usually each planet has some kind of life on it where you wouldn't think life existed.
Okay.
Like in the rings of Saturn and the
That's
skies of Venus. So it kind of plays into what you were talking about.
So that's kind of the same general idea. But okay, so that's interesting. So that was a good segue. So it was like you started out as a kid with things like War of the Worlds, and then you went into reading Ben Bova books.
Yeah, and then that furthered my excitement about life on other planets, because in his book Mars, you find out that there's an ancient civilization on Mars that got wiped out, and when the humans go there, they find the civilization and the buildings, and it's fucking cool, dude.
That's cool.
It's badass.
Yeah, I've heard of his books. I've never read them though.
Yeah, you would like them, man.
Yeah,
they're really good.
You know what I'd like? I like the fact that he rose to prominence and became successful with a fucking name like Ben Bova. Like, how much I thought, it kind of sucked growing up with a name like Larry. I imagine being Ben Bova when you were a kid, because that sounds an awful lot like Bendova. Bendova, Ben Bova. Anyway, sorry. I was looking at him like Ben Bova. Fuck. But yeah, again, for me, then it was that whole voiceover section when they were showing the planets and kind of describing them, and because that's like my earliest memory of really hearing about or knowing much about the solar system.
Yeah.
And my parents I still have it actually, they had this world atlas, this old school world atlas like you would have found in the library, 50 years ago. Gigantic atlas, and it was all maps. It was all geography. Obviously, it's an atlas. but just like really cool, detailed, huge pictures, big, thick book. But the very last page of it was a picture of the solar system. Like they'd done this beautiful painting thing of like the solar system and Ceres and all these and everything. And like my mom showed me that and was like, oh, check this out and show me. And I just became fascinated with that. Like because when that movie came on, when I first saw it, it was on Channel 9. I'll talk more about that later. And we recorded it with our Betamax.
Good old Betamax.
Yeah, so it was like 1978, literally.
Yeah.
And we recorded it, so I used to watch it all the time, and I'd pull out that book, and I'd just sit there on the ground, and I'd be reading, and they'd had some, facts and details and how many miles away it was from the sun and all this. And that's, what got me all fascinated with, outer space. I mean, by that point, I'd already seen Star Wars and shit, but I don't know, that wasn't the same thing, That was just fantasy. This was the real deal.
Yeah.
This was the real shit. So yeah, that was kind of what got it for me. And obviously Meg was in school dreaming up crazy
Yeah.
Milky Way galaxy conspiracy theories and shit, so
Now I have to actually write it.
There you go.
Yeah, well, you were kind of a weird kid anyway, in that you were always a sci-fi kind of person.
Yeah.
Yeah. You were playing with Star Trek figures and stuff when you were
I drew my own aliens so I could have my own screen. Put it on screen. So I had a whole book of aliens I drew up.
Nice.
I wish I still had that.
That would be amazing.
I probably still have that somewhere. When I find it, I'll bring it.
You're totally bringing that on.
Yeah.
Totally am.
You find that's got to be gold. Man.
Yeah, I'm sure. It's in crayon.
Crayon.
Crown.
Fuck, I
can't ever
Saying
say that
crayon.
word right.
That
the
is
Oklahoma coming
I
out
was
there?
just-
Or what?
Well, I always said it was Oklahoma, and then I asked a bunch of my Oklahoma friends, and sure enough, they all say crayon.
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 It's crown. It's crown.
It's not
Fuck.
crown. It's crayon.
Crayon.
C-R-A-O-N.
Crayon.
Cray. Can you say cray? Say on.
On.
Now say them together.
Crayon.
You still can't do
I
it.
can't do it. It's a crown.
Hopeless, folks. So anyway, yeah, I mean we've got it just made sense for all of us to talk about Mars. I mean, and obviously because you with things like Star Trek and whatnot, and me and you with War of the Worlds, and in these books, it's the way Mars became such a fascinating subject for everybody in the 20th century. Well, starting at the
Really,
turn
the
of the century.
19th century, even the 18th, to
Yeah.
some degree,
Yeah, 19th century. Well, you got when H.G. Wells wrote War of the Worlds, man. Yep.
1897, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I think it was published like in the UK. It finally came out in 1898, something like that.
Yeah, when I looked it up, it said 1897.
Yeah, probably. This is like a
online.
reprint, so they
Right.
have copyright of 86 on here. But yeah, this might have been like the 100-year anniversary.
Probably.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, the point is just before the turn of the century and everything, we had that, and that is, that is the acorn from which all the rest of this kind of sprouted, because that influenced so much other stuff.
And apparently this was about German encroachment.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
kind of
Kind of a precursor to World War I, and that's kind of a metaphor, like all good science fiction stories are.
Right,
Mhm.
right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because it all takes place in
England, I believe. Yeah,
and that
Yeah.
as compared to the
To
movies.
California.
yeah, because it's America. We
We
got to
gotta
make it
change
in
it.
America.
We gotta make it America centric.
America doesn't want to hear about those fucking Brits,
Yeah.
especially after we fucking got our shit away from them. Start our
Their
own
tea in
goddamn
them.
country.
We showed them how. Yeah, yeah, it's a really cool story. I mean, it's very different from the movie, but there's some similarities and
Yeah.
everything, especially the ending being the closest similarity. But I mean,
Very smart ending, I think, for the
Yeah.
for the book.
especially for the time.
Yeah,
That's the thing about it, is that I think that's why that story has endured all through the ages. I mean, it's been made into a movie
5 times, I think.
several times. Yeah, easily.
yeah. You're counting the really bad Sci-Fi Channel ones too. I think,
Sure.
right?
Yeah. But I mean, it was that. Of course, there's the infamous 1938
Radio broadcast.
radio broadcast with
Orson Welles.
Orson Welles. Yeah. No relation.
No.
There's an extra E in there.
Yeah, that's right.
But and that interpretation, and then how, yeah, I mean, it's just funny how even now a story that's like well over a century old, I think still resonates
Mhm.
and everything. So it's a testament to how amazing it is, and
Mm-hmm.
how infatuated we are just with the whole subject. I mean, it's still such a major part of not just sci-fi, but even just general public interest in outer space. I
Mhm.
mean, we still
It's such a mystery.
right,
Yeah.
because
We still don't know anything.
We still haven't
Yeah.
fucking gotten our asses to Mars. Nobody's listening to your shirt.
I know. I
Nobody's
mean, Mars One project is trying to do it, guys, but they've only raised $1 million
that ain't
of the
shit.
proposed $6 billion.
Didn't Russia just announce that they're going to get to Mars in like 2019? Isn't that ridiculous?
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
see,
that Putin said something like that.
Oh,
fucking
Yeah.
Putin.
Putin.
Putin in your mouth. That's what he's doing.
Oh, you're dead.
fucking KGB's gonna come in here any second.
The Kidjib is gonna come after
Kidjib.
me. Damn Kidjib. Yeah, no, you know what? That's a good thing, because I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson was talking about, because Rogan was asking like why why haven't we gone back to the moon? Why haven't we gone to Mars? Why haven't we done all this stuff? And like Tyson said, he was like, the only reason we did that stuff in the first place was because we were at war with Russia, essentially. And it was just, whose dick is bigger kind of contest. So that's what he said. He's like, what we need is Russia or China or somebody to suddenly say, oh, we're going to go do this. Then watch, all of a sudden, the United States is
get all sorts of funding.
Yeah, no, United States is going to fucking puff themselves. We're doing it. We're doing it now, man. Fucking doing this shit. Get the fuck out of the way, China. Fucking doing. Let me show you how it's done. And I mean, and it's so that's a good thing. Like, I'm thrilled. Now we need China.
We need another space race.
Exactly. Well, we got Space Force coming.
Yeah, we.
The Space Force. It's awesome.
Only if Casper Van Dien is the leader of the Space Force, as Colonel Johnny Rico.
Oh,
Rico's Roughnecks, man. He'll get it done.
Rico's Roughnecks. Oh boy. Yeah. So I don't even know what to say to that. Rico's Roughnecks. Fuck, you got me with that one. But yeah, I mean, Mars is just kind of always been such a fascinating subject throughout all of literature, TV, movies, cartoons. Cartoons love Mars.
They sure do.
There was always some kind of like Marvin the Martian.
Yeah.
From Looney Tunes. There's one of my favorite Woody Woodpecker cartoons. When they think he's a Martian, like this whole thing happens where I forget exactly what happens. He ends up getting his hands on some sort of like laser gun thing or something.
What he does?
Yeah. And I don't remember exactly how this happens. And he winds up with this like fishbowl thing, because there was always a thing back then. Was if you were like a Martian, you were gonna have some fishbowl thing over your helmet. And look out, he might be radioactive. And all this shit happens, and at the end of it, he winds up getting blasted. He ends up actually going to Mars, and then everybody on Mars is afraid of him for the same thing. They're like, look out, he might be radioactive.
Woody Woodpecker is in War of the Worlds 53.
That's true.
Like in a short segment there.
That is true. Yeah, we should see if we can find like a clip of that. There's a scene where he's up in a tree when the aliens are like
landing or
shooting a laser or something.
Yeah.
The George Powell, the director of the 1953 War of the Worlds, he was really good friends with Walter Lantz, the creator of Woody Woodpecker. And so he threw it in there just as like a little Easter egg nod for him and his buddy to get a little laugh out of it. It's actually in there, like so fucking arbitrary.
I think George has done that in other movies, if I'm not mistaken.
Did he? But I only knew about it in that one.
Yeah.
Huh.
That's cool.
That is pretty cool. Fucking Woody Woodpecker. Oh, man. Don't even get me started on Woody Woodpecker, because I am a huge fan of the old stuff. They've done new Woody Woodpecker stuff that just sucks bad. But like the old like 40s, 50s, even 60s, like Woody Woodpecker. But yeah, it was always a gag on there, and Bugs Bunny and all that kind of stuff. Like it was always Mars. It was never like Jupiter.
Yeah.
Or Saturn. It was just like Mars always captured everybody's imagination, because it seemed like, I don't know, it just seemed more plausible to people.
Yeah.
But anyway, speaking of War of the Worlds, that's a good opportunity for me to introduce a new segment that I am doing now on this channel. May only be in the podcast. It might be a standalone thing you guys can watch later. Haven't figured it out yet, but the first one is perfect for this because it has to do with the movie and book we were just talking about. I'm a big fan of old television stuff. Like I mentioned earlier, that I had War of the Worlds on my Betamax cassettes, which I still have. Was always into that kind of stuff. Love old television, especially local Chicago, Midwest television stuff. I love old commercials and channel bumpers, they call them, station IDs, things like that. I love that kind of stuff. And I am going to be doing a new segment, which you're going to see the first piece of here, and it's going to be called Geeking Classics with Larry Roberts. Greetings, folks. Welcome to my little segment here on Geeking Poetic, where I discuss some of my favorite and most personally pivotal programs from my youth, and their significance not only on myself, but pop culture in general. This first installment today, I'll be discussing, appropriately enough, the show that I'm borrowing the title and intro of this bit from. A show that ran on WGN Channel 9 Chicago throughout the 1970s and the early 1980s called Family Classics, starring Fraser Thomas. Thomas was well known as a television personality around the Midwest, hosting shows like that one, as well as being featured on The Bozo Show and hosting Garfield Goose and Friends. That's the silly goose in the picture frame behind me. I watched this show regularly on the weekends, usually while visiting my grandparents' house, while I was sitting on the floor or was on the couch, playing with toys or eating my lunch. Most of the stories presented on Family Classics were film adaptations of old novels from the early part of the 20th century or even older than that. My family would sit around and watch them with great interest, but to be honest with you, most of the time it was just background noise for me. I didn't really pay that much attention to them. But then one day in 1978, a Family Classics episode came on that truly caught my interest and sparked my imagination. They were airing the now classic 1953 film adaptation of H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds. My knowledge of science fiction or outer space in general was pretty limited up to that point. Being so small, I was barely old enough to read. The scenes of the solar system in the beginning, or the scenes of the alien spacecrafts rising out of the smoke, or all the ensuing bedlam that happened with the humans trying to figure out how to save their asses from this invasion, really sparked my imagination and made me so interested in what you could expect from beyond the stars. This movie utterly fascinated me, and from there on I was smitten with books and comics and movies that dealt with outer space. As much as I loved Star Wars, Star Trek, and so forth, to this day, my love for what lies beyond really goes back to seeing War of the Worlds that one sunny afternoon on Channel 9. Luckily for me, my family were one of the first in the neighborhood to own a video cassette recorder, a Betamax no less, and my parents were nice enough to record War of the Worlds for me the next time they showed it on Family Classics the following year. From that point on, I was able to watch it again and again and again, and I assure you, that's exactly what I did. So in closing, thank you for watching, and join me again when I'll discuss more of my Geeking Classics from vintage television. If you'd like to see more classic Chicagoland television clips like I'm discussing here, please go and visit the incredible website www.fuzzymemories.tv, the Museum for Classic Chicago Television. They feature hundreds and hundreds of classic commercials, clips, show bumpers, and stuff that'll appeal to you even if you're not from the Midwest. Most of the footage there is supplied by fans, viewers, even industry insiders who used to work for some of these television stations. And some of those clips even come from my personal video collection on all those Betamax tapes. So thank you once again for checking out Geeking Poetic, Geeking Classics. Make sure you check out fuzzymemories.tv, and hopefully I will see you all soon. Farewell for now. And there you go.
Very interesting.
Yeah, that's my little, anybody that, if you're not from Chicago, you're not going to know, but it's kind of my homage. There was a show that, as I describe and everything, there's a show that I grew up with on Channel 9 called Family Classics, hosted by Fraser Thomas, who was the conductor of Bozo Circus.
That's right.
So, also hung out with Garfield Goose and Friends. So, which I'll talk about in another Geeking Classics thing. But yeah, I just thought that was, it just was pertinent to that, because one of my first really strong memories, because I have the tape of it, was watching Family Classics and seeing War of the Worlds. So it had a huge influence on me, man. I'm sure it did a lot of other people. I've met other people that online and stuff that have said, you know, like, oh my God, seeing War of the Worlds on Channel 9 when I was a kid. Like,
I mean, that movie is so like we always use the term groundbreaking, but literally, dude, that movie was fucking incredible.
In terms of sci-fi and this particular part of it, and you know, with Mars and everything, absolutely. But anyway, we're going to be talking so much more about this movie before we completely blow our wad and make this all about War of the Worlds, you know, which we could probably do actually, because it is such a fascinating subject and backstory and everything. Screw it, man. Let's get into our top 5.
All right.
And I think we're going to do something, right? We're all in agreement. We're going to do something a little different.
Yeah.
A little different.
Shake it up a little.
Right, so that we don't, because ultimately when we made our top 5 lists and we were looking at comparing them, you know, like what Vito's number 1 was compared to my number 4 and so on and so forth, we realized there is some crossover, just like there was with the other podcasts. But rather than constantly flipping back and forth and like talking a little bit about this movie and then talking about it later, or you know, stealing anybody's thunder if my number 5 is their number 1 and things like that, we're just going to go through, we're going to go around, we're going to list everything 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we'll just go through the movies and just talk about them on their own, you know, in no particular order, I guess, you know.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And that would probably be the best way to do it. So you don't have to wait till, you know, an hour and 40 minutes into this to find out what our number 1 is. It's right here. So, but yeah, so let's do it. Here is our top 5 jazz hands. Our top 5 favorite Mars related movies / TV shows / novel kind of thing. So, ready? Explode. All right. So, you want to start, Vito?
Okay. So I just list from 5 to 1 here.
Yes.
All right. So this one may come as a shock to some of you because it's so like low in the list, but I'll get to this later why I had such a hard time getting to this. But number 5 is The Martian.
Yeah.
It was a tough one to get to number 5. But
The 2014 film.
Yes.
Yes.
For me, it's more the audiobook of The Martian than it is the film. But the film, it's a gorgeous fucking film, man.
Yeah. Oh yeah. You and I are kind of, we're kind of in the same.
We got.
We're kind of, I got you here. You see my eyes. I got you. Yeah, we're good. We're Goombas like that. Yeah. No, I'm the same way. We'll definitely talk about that, like the novel and the audiobook.
Yeah.
In particular. Yeah. In comparison. Yeah. I mean, some of these choices, I know I can speak for you, but speaking for me too, some of my choices, even though they are all movies, why they made it into the top 5 is also in some cases influenced by how great the literary works are that they were drawn from and all that stuff too.
Yeah.
It's sort of like, so it's not just being based on the movie, because I've got one in here in particular that it's like, as it stands, if it was just the movie, it ain't the greatest fucking thing out there, you know, but I'll get into why it made it in. So my number 5 is actually from 2000, and it is Mission to Mars. Directed by Brian De Palma.
Oh yeah, De Palma.
Brian De Palma. He does some good shit. But yeah, great movie. Could have potentially been a little bit higher, but it had, for me personally, it had some stiff competition, man. So
this was a tough list, guys. I mean, that's,
you know, I didn't think when we first decided we were going to do this, I didn't think it was going to be that hard. I was like, oh yeah. And then once I started really thinking about it, you know, because there's, as we talked about earlier, there's certain movies that aren't even in my list that, man, like really could be.
Yeah.
So we'll do like we did last time, folks. We're going to get into honorary mentions later and things like that, you know. But yeah, so mine is Mission to Mars.
What
Megan?
you got, Megan?
Well, mine's a little different.
Uh-oh.
I am going with Cave Women on Mars from 2008.
Wait. Cave Women from Mars. Is that what you said?
It's Cave Women on Mars. I'm so sorry.
I'm
so sorry.
Yeah, let me get that right.
It's a little different.
For anybody that's going to run right out right now and like
Look it up.
You don't want the from Mars. You want on Mars. From Mars, guys.
Not so much.
No.
If you choose Cave Women on Mars, it's all good. Cave Women from Mars, not so good. You not so much. Okay. Yeah, we're going to have to talk about that.
Yeah, we'll get into it.
That actually made it into the top 5, huh?
I couldn't not after, no.
Wow.
I had to.
No, you know, I respect it. I respect that because
it'll be on nobody else's top 5.
No, but that's what's great because people are gonna. Oh yeah, they're just gonna talk about The Martian and then the other 2 Mars movies that came out in 2000.
Nope. Leave it to Meg.
No, I threw a
Deep
couple
cuts
oddballs
with
in
Megan.
mine as usual.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, I agree with her. It is not going to be in anybody else's top 5. I'm sure that is only other than maybe like the people who made it, and even then, I'm not so sure.
Yeah.
They've had 10 years to live with it. Now they're like, oh no, I wouldn't put that in my top 5. That's not in my top 5. Yeah. So yeah. All right. Cool. All right. So we've got The Martian, Mission to Mars.
Cave Women on Mars.
Cave Women are on Mars. Okay. Like on it, like a fucking medicine ball. Like right on it. Hey. Yeah. All right. So let's just, like we said, we're going to discuss these more in depth once we go through the whole list. Number 4.
Number 4 is Recall.
Wow.
Don't fuck with the mind, pal. It ain't worth it. If you guys don't know what that is, it is Total Recall.
I think most people that are going to listen to this would probably know that because, I mean, it's fucking Total Recall.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I mean, fuck. That's another one that, especially you, I know, like, we could almost do a whole episode.
Yeah, I mean, that movie is just so fucking good.
Somewhere down the line, if we're still doing this, you know, in a little while and everything, I'm sure that's going to be, just like we did with Independence Day, that's going to be one of those ones that will do like a special
because there's the Total Recall film is actually the second or third like sequence because Philip K. Dick wrote that. We can remember it for you for wholesale.
Dick. I got this book for you, K. Dick. Whatever you say. Sorry. I'm just all these poor writers, man.
I know.
Fucking old Philip Dick's got something for you, Ben Bova. Yeah. Anyway, go on. I'm sorry, Vito. I interrupted you.
I mean, he wrote that I think in the early 50s.
Yeah, it's old. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course we got the 2009 remake.
Right.
I think
it was somewhere around there. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That's cool story, really out there. Good for discussion. I mean, there's a lot to so and we will talk about it a little bit here, but someday I have a feeling we're gonna do a whole thing about that.
Yeah.
So all right, Total Recall number 4. Real quick though, let's bring up the fact that anybody that knows Vito is gonna probably hear that and be like, holy shit, Total Recall is only number 4. What's that about?
Wait till you get to my top 3. We're literally just top 3. Well, number 3, you guys will see why. But the first 2, you may not think that those would be in the top 2, but they are.
Right.
For me.
But anybody that knows Vito knows he's all about.
Schwarzenegger is my guy, man.
Right, and that he loves this movie. So, but we'll get into that later. Why maybe that's like being held off a little bit. Yeah. My number 4. Is another movie from my 5 and 4 are the new they're the first new Mars movies that came out at the turn of the century, like of 21st century. There was this whole like boom of sci-fi and Mars centric movies that happened between like 98, 99 and like 2003. It was just tons of them that happened, and for me, most of them are not that good. Some actually did better than this movie because this movie did not do very well, and we'll get into that. But for me, I like this one the best out of all those from that 21st century Mars boom, and it is Red Planet.
Yes. I
like that movie a lot more than I would have expected to like it, but I think it's cool. Flawed. And we'll get into that. There's some flaws, but I think it's underrated. I think this movie deserves another chance. I think it's a cool movie. So that's my number 4. I think it fits well in number 4. Megan? Oh, I can't wait. I'm real curious to know what this is.
Well, I have gone with number 4 as Mom's. Oh, no, sorry. I fucked that one up too.
Way to go. You blew it.
I blew it. God damn it. Mars Needs Moms from 2011.
Wow.
It was so cute.
Oh, wow.
I loved it. Yep.
That movie's so bad.
No, it's not.
That's an animated movie.
That is animated, yes.
Like a Pixar type of animation?
Kind of, yeah. It was a really pretty advanced kind of anime.
Yeah.
I'll give it that.
Yeah. It was like motion capture.
Capture
computer
more,
animated motion capture.
I gotcha. Okay.
It looks very real in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But
It was super cute, and that's why it made it in my top 5. And it's so much different than all the other Mars movies that all blended together while I was doing my research. So it stood out.
Okay. Fair enough.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right.
All right. Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, we'll give you that.
All right. Thank you. Jesus.
No, it's great. We've got Megan here to throw those fucking curveballs, man. So me and Vito aren't just picking like all the same shit.
There's all the
So
brutal macho guy
yeah,
movies out there for you. I'll throw you all off. Fuck you both.
So, okay, just a real quick recap. So our number 4s are
Total Recall,
Red Planet, and
Mars Needs Moms.
Mars Needs Moms. Okay. All right, moving on. We're going to go to number 3.
Mine is War of the Worlds, 1953.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a part of me that would have thought that might have been a little higher for you. But it does have stiff competition.
Like I said, this list was hard, but the first 2 movies in my list, I mean, we'll get there, but yeah, I can't knock those down from number 2.
Yeah, we'll get into this more, I'm sure. I'm sure you're going to discuss it more, but you labored over this shit, man.
Yeah, I was just telling these guys before we started recording, I literally spent today 6 hours this afternoon going back and forth on whether or not I should include this movie in the top 5 or keep it as an honorable mention. And I finally made the decision like 20 minutes before you guys showed up.
And you're probably still not 100%
Yeah, I'm not.
sure.
I'm still thinking, can we go back and just edit that so I can replace this? But
You're stuck now.
yeah, it is what it is
It's
at this
in.
point. So
All right, so War of the Worlds, 1953. Yeah, don't need any more introduction to that. We talked about that a bunch already. Mine is this is probably my only oddball one, really, that a lot of people out there might not have seen, but I did when I was a kid, and it stuck with me, and I still think it's pretty cool. Which is again, anybody that watches it now would be watching it as a movie, much like Salem's Lot, much like the 1990 It movie, like all those things like that. But when it first came out, it was a miniseries that aired over 3 nights, and it was The Martian Chronicles that came out in January of 1980 when I was 6 years old.
I wasn't even born yet. Barely.
Rub it in.
see, I remember we were discussing this the other day, and I had thought this was a Fox animated show that I remember as a kid, but it wasn't. I read today it was actually called Red Planet, which is based on Robert Heinlein's book, when I thought it was a Ray Bradbury story.
Right. I know what you're talking about. Oh, that's
So,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah. Fuck, I forgot about that.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is obviously based on Bradbury, and I'll get more into it. But it's interesting the way they ended up piecing this together and making this an actual movie or miniseries. But it impressed upon me. for a multitude of reasons, which I'll get into when we discuss it. But yep, that's my number 3 is The Martian Chronicles from 1980. Megan?
I am going with War of the Worlds from 2005.
Oh, okay, cool.
A little curveball, huh?
Yeah, a little switcheroo there.
Yeah.
Cool.
I'll explain why later, but
Yeah, okay.
I found it entertaining and I liked it. It had flaws in it. I was like, oh, really? But
I gotta be honest. I've never seen it all the way through.
Me either.
I've seen parts of it, and what I saw, I liked. It's one of those ones that I'm super interested in seeing. I have been for however many years now, 13 years now. And I'd catch bits and pieces of it now and then, like on FX or something like that. And I'd always be like, oh man, I want to watch this. No, I gotta wait. I gotta watch it from the beginning.
Yeah.
And I never. So it's one of those ones that I keep waiting. Like when I have the perfect opportunity, I should have watched that when I was on the fucking transatlantic flight. No, that probably would have been even worse. That probably would have been even worse than watching.
Maybe
that would have got me even more freaked out. I bet.
Maybe. At least this one was all on the ground.
Yeah, I suppose that's true.
You don't really see any really flying saucers. And shit.
Well, yeah. I mean, when I woke up, all startled I'm on a plane that's moving how many hundreds of miles an hour, and I'm seeing like right in front of my face that all those stars and everything go up. I was like, ah.
Yeah, it wasn't your best move.
Yeah, it wasn't. But anyway, I digress.
But that's exactly why some movies that probably should be in my top 5 are not, because I haven't made it through them, which we can talk more about later. But
yeah.
So that's why. It's not that I don't like them. I just haven't watched them fully.
Well, there's a bunch of movies that we like that just didn't make it into the top 5. That's why there's going to be honorable mentions and side anecdotes and things like that. So
yeah, they're in your guys' top 10, or top 5. So
yeah.
Oh, okay, good. All right. So just again recapping for our number 3s, we've got
War of the Worlds 53,
and I've got The Martian Chronicles 1980, and you've got
War of the Worlds 2005.
Nice. Yeah.
That's a good mix.
Yeah, that is a good mix. All right, moving on to number
2.
Dos
Sekis here. So for me, it's a little movie called Stranded. And before you go, that Christian Slater movie about the moon, that's not about Mars. That's not the one, guys. Stranded, a Spanish production, although it's English speaking and there's English actors in there. It was made by a Spanish production team.
You really don't need to say anything more about that one
than
what you just did.
Apparently, Larry and Megan do not like this movie at all.
That is my thanks, but no thanks, right there.
No, I'll get into more of it. I haven't seen it. Probably. Okay. And I have a little bone to pick actually about it because, well, I'll save that. But let's just say for her, for you it's a thumbs up. For Megan, it's a thumbs down. And for me, it's like a question mark about a few things.
We got it all covered tonight.
I just got like a question mark about it.
That's going to be our 3 ratings for the show. Thumbs up, thumbs down, or question mark. It's going to be the Riddler's face. That's it.
Fucking the Riddler. So yeah, okay, all right, cool. Yeah, Stranded, interesting. That made it. That's your number 2.
Yeah,
damn. Okay, that just makes the question mark
brutal.
even more. That just makes the little point at the bottom of the question mark even more prominent. Okay. My number 2 is going to be the aforementioned movie. Actually, I said 2014. I think it actually came out in 2015. Starring with Matt Damon, called The Martian. Yeah, that one that ranks high for me. And much like you, it has as much to do with the book and the audiobook as it does the movie. But the movie's great. Love the movie. Yeah, so again, won't talk much more about that. But yeah, my number 2 is The Martian. Megan?
I think I'm going to go with Red Planet for my number 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it was very entertaining, I thought.
Yeah.
Through its flaws and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I'm
That's
happy.
cool.
I'm happy to see somebody put it up that high. When I first was putting my list together, I kind of had it. I had it higher. I had it floating around 2 or 3. But then when I thought about,
This is floating around between 1 and 2. I was
Wow.
sitting here. You guys were talking. I was like, what do I want to do? What do we want to do? So
cool.
I'm going number 2.
This list was hard to
Yeah,
put together. I mean,
it'll be fun to talk about that one.
yeah.
Awesome. All right. So recapping that, we've got
Stranded.
and then The Martian and
Red Planet.
those are our number 2s, folks. So are you ready for it? So early in the show, you're gonna find out. So exciting. No, everybody's like, fucking cares.
Just shut up and tell us.
No, just Larry, stop fucking rambling, man. Just tell us, okay? We got places to be. But all right, we are in our numero uno. What is our number 1 favorite Mars-related movie? Vito?
So my number 1 is The Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars. Now, as this sequel points out, oh wait, no, we're getting into it later. We're just listing it now, right?
I fucking hope you're kidding, man. I never
Remember
know.
that movie I said I spent 6 hours waiting to see if I was going to put in this list or not and regretting it?
Wow. I never know what to expect from you, man.
I still don't know if he's kidding or not.
I don't know.
Look at the face. I can't tell.
No, he's got to be kidding because there's a movie that I know has to be in there with as much as he likes it. It's got to be.
Yeah, I'm kidding, guys, obviously.
Oh my gosh.
The Brave Little Toaster.
I love the brave little toaster, but
Of course you do.
Surprised that's not on your fucking list over there.
if I'd known that existed, I would.
Fits right in there with fucking Mars Needs Moms and that fucking
Cave women on
Cave
Mars.
Whores on Pluto, or whatever it was.
And I believe Brave Little Toaster on Mars came out during the Mars boom of the early 2000s. Because I saw it on DVD at Toys R Us when I was working there.
You didn't make that up?
No, that's a real legit movie.
Oh my
dude.
god!
And I think it's like a ongoing. I think Brave Little Toaster is its own movie, but a sequel is The Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars.
You're so sincere about it. Like, no, dude, that's a fucking. It's like it's right up there with like Kurosawa and shit. You know?
No, but,
I need to see this now.
Yeah, but seriously, my number 1 is Mission to Mars.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, see, there you go. That was my number 5. So, yeah. Well, and we already talked a little bit about that. Okay, my number 1 is, as we go, anybody's gonna be like, oh, it's got to be his fucking number 1 with as much as he's talked about it, is War of the Worlds from 1953. That is my number 1 for obvious reasons.
I could not see you not putting that in your number 1 movie.
I actually did debate about it because I love The Martian so much, but like you kind of helped me with that because when you pointed out about how much more that we love the book and the audiobook, even as great as the movie is, I love the audiobook. You know, if I had to choose one over the other, I'm going to choose the audiobook.
Yeah.
Because it was more so the audiobook than the movie and everything, and because War of the Worlds was just the one that kind of started it all. But I mean, the same could be said for, you know, Martian Chronicles. I mean, that only made it into number 3, but that was a big jump starter one for me as well, you know, but just not anywhere near as much as War of the Worlds. So that's my number 1. And I cannot wait to find out what Megan's number 1 is.
My number 1 is Devil. Well, no, I'm kidding. That one didn't make it in. That one was terrible.
You're like,
Devil, which
my number 1 is Santa Claus Conquers the Martians from 1962.
Yeah, it was like Devil Girl from Mars or something like that.
Oh, I know what
okay.
you're talking
Yeah,
about.
it was terrible.
Yeah.
Ugh.
That's like a 50s or 60s movie, isn't it?
It's
Or is
something
it-
like I don't.
Yeah, it's bad.
Something like that. It's bad.
It's
It
up
was
there
terrible.
with it's Santa Claus Conquers the Martians.
Yeah, that was. Ugh. So I'm also going with War of the Worlds from 53.
Oh,
Cool.
okay. So she's got both War of the Worlds.
I do. I got them
Interesting.
both. They're so different. I had to put them both in there.
Yeah, that's true.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, that's kind of cool. So Meg's list is all sorts of little fucking curveballs and twists and breaking the rules, bending the rules.
That's what I do.
Fucking rebel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. You know what? On that note, since we're talking about our little rebel here, before we start talking about all our movies and getting it a little more in depth about it, it is time again. I think are you ready to like let the world know your Mars related list of,
Yes, I think they need to know Mars life lessons.
Yep. Megan's Mars life lessons right here, folks.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to this installment of Megan's Life Lessons. In this episode, we're going to focus on what we can learn from watching and reading about Mars. Number 5. One common theme we've found when watching or reading stories of people who are visiting Mars is that without fail, someone gets stranded or left behind for dead. Even when they try to bring a whole crew of people with them, do you think that ever works? Nope. They all end up dying or leaving, and you wind up being the only one left there, which sucks because honestly, Mars is kind of boring. So unless you've got some mad botany skills, you're a crafty space janitor, or you're just that desperate to get away from humanity, you're going to be pretty lonely on Mars. Number 4. Never ever go to Mars with anyone you do not trust 100% with your life. It never fails to have at least one crew member die, so you definitely want to have more than one buddy on your team. Keep tabs on all crew members' whereabouts at all times. Don't even think about it. Avoid scuffles next to steep cliffs and always remain conscious to avoid being implanted with memory-altering chips. So remember, never turn your back on anyone or thing on Mars. Number 3. If you are not into bugs, then Mars is definitely not the place for you. Time and time again, when watching films, reading books, or comics about Martians, we learn that there's some kind of creepy, insect-like creatures. Ugh. While some wind up being helpful due to their ability to create oxygen, others are just obnoxious pests that just want to kill and conquer. Either way, unless you're a fan of creepy crawlers or you're just some kind of weirdo, it's probably best to just stay away. Number 2. Don't worry about packing guns or missiles to fight off potential Martians. It's just a waste of time. You already possess the one thing that is lethal to all Martians. All you have to do is cough on them, because clearly the one thing that takes them down without fail are human dirty germs. Number 1, when going to Mars, don't worry about conserving your air supply. Because no matter what you've been taught about the Mars atmosphere, you're going to be able to breathe just fine without that pesky, bulky space helmet and suit. Just be warned, it's not going to be oxygen-rich air, and you're going to definitely want to watch out for vacuums. And while you're at it, don't worry about the radiation from the planet either. Just kidding, you're going to be just fine. That'll do it for today's life lessons. I hope you all learned a little something to take along with your journeys. Class dismissed.
All right, Meg. Thank you for that.
There you have it.
Thank you.
That is.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I think we all just got a little bit wiser.
We always do with your life lessons, Megan.
Me too.
Yeah.
A little older, a little wiser.
But yeah, enjoyed that. But you know what? I am remiss for the fact that we haven't introduced a new
member of our show.
a new face. We have a new face on
I wonder if anybody spotted it yet.
Geeking Poetic. Yeah, I wonder if anybody was watching this and like, what the fuck is that?
that?
Sitting there. Ladies and gentlemen, Megan has somebody to introduce you to. She's got a new man in her life.
Yep. It's getting pretty serious pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, as people out there probably know, anybody that listens to this knows by now of her love of pickles. So we have a new gentleman who is our mascot and as our associate producer. His name.
keeps us in line.
What's his name?
He's Mr. Pickles.
Yeah, we got.
Look how cute he is.
Hey, how you doing? How
Even-
you doing, folks?
Vito, you can't not love this guy. Look at his glasses and his little mustache.
His mustache.
His
Yeah.
mustache.
His mustache. Yeah. How you doing, everybody? Mr. Pickles. First name Bartholomew. Bartholomew James Pickles. That's me. I'm all business. Don't make fun of my pokey little gut I got going on down here. You know, I got a.
He's even got a belly button, no?
Yeah, he's got
You got an Audi?
Yeah, I got an Audi. All right, you got a problem with that?
He's got a pronounced forehead here too. There's a little
Yeah.
bump here.
Jeez, my
Yeah, he's
first.
half Klingon over there.
Right?
Oh, what the fuck? It's first time on the show, and you guys are already tearing into me. What the hell is this all about? Yeah.
At least you don't have to worry about anybody eating them. Well, at least Vito.
Yeah, that's why he is on your table way over there.
Yeah, he's keeping me company over here. It's kind of lonely on this side.
Yeah, worry about eating me? I tell you right now, both of you can fucking eat me.
Oh,
All right, yeah. So put me back on my spot so I
All right.
can oversee this jip joint of a fucking podcast.
you want to see this train wreck happen up close and personal? Oh.
There we go. So yes, that is our newest edition, and I of course I've already got all sorts of great things in mind. I've got
Just wait.
I've got great things in mind for how Bartholomew J. Pickles is going to factor in on our show in the future. You know it. So, all
I'm
right.
afraid.
Yeah, be very afraid. Things are going to get real sour around here. So, yeah, all right. Let's start talking about the movies, the flims,
All right.
the flicks. Which one do you want to talk about first, man?
All right, so let's go on to number 5. So my number 5 was The Martian.
Yeah, let's just talk about The Martian. Cool.
Because we're, 2 out of 3 here that have it listed?
Mhm.
You didn't have it
2
listed.
out
right?
of 3.
I did not have it listed, no. That is one of those I fell asleep in the middle. What I saw at the beginning and I saw at the end, it was really good. So I really want to put it in my top 5. But I missed the whole middle part, so I don't know. And I cannot for the life of me make it through the audiobook.
Man.
I can't do
oh,
it.
man.
I keep trying.
The audiobook is fucking fabulous.
It's
It's one of
so
the best audiobooks,
technical.
I think, ever.
Yeah, it
I
sure
mean,
as
it's-
hell is.
So good.
So, Vito, tell us about your introduction to that, because
Okay, so for me, it started with the audiobook. I don't exactly remember how I found out about the audiobook, but I heard a bunch of reviews saying this is like one of the best Mars stories ever. And I've always been into like a Mars thing, obviously. So every time I'm on Audible, I always do a search for Mars. And Martian is usually at the top of that list, along with other movies or other audiobooks. And I remember getting this, and I finished it. I think within 2 days at work.
okay,
'Cause that's when I listen to audiobooks is at work. And I remember literally
working hard.
yeah, making shipping labels and listening to fucking Andy Weir's books. But
Yep.
and I just remember seriously just literally laughing out loud at parts
Hmm.
because Mark Watney in the book is such a fucking smart ass,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
the shit he says is just incredible.
Yeah, exactly. Same thing for me. What was the? Trying to think. What was the name of the guy that does Mark Watney? It was R.C. Bray.
R.C. Bray.
Man, good on you, dude. You play as much as Matt Damon did a really good job of portraying it. He did put it in a different kind of light. He's a smart ass and everything, but it's more that Matt Damon kind of way, which there's nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
And I think the movie was constrained. Like, isn't in the book? There's a lot of excessive uses of the F word and other shit that goes down that they couldn't put. Is that movie PG-13? I don't remember. It probably is.
It probably is.
Yeah. I think they drop a couple F-bombs and stuff, but the book is just riddled with that. There's a lot of adult humor in the book,
Yeah, the one thing I really like the most about the book compared to the movie, and I get it because it's a movie and you can only drag some things out so much, but the interpersonal relationships are so much better, especially amongst the crew. Getting more into the backstory of the relationships there between some of the crew, especially after they've had to leave Watney behind and everything. It's good in the movie. They touch on it enough that you get
the feel. Yeah,
you get the feel for it. You get a gist of it. But in the book, it's great. Especially that whole part when what's her face is talking to her dad, explaining to him about
how she'll survive.
She was chosen to be the one to survive. Like that's so like emotional.
Yeah,
in the book.
and it's fucking creepy because like you got to think like, does NASA really have plans like that?
Oh yeah,
you know,
I bet. Oh yeah, they do. Yeah, they do.
I'm sure they have the cyanide suicide pills for sure. But as far as what she was talking about, they were going to do. That's.
Well, the whole, let's get into that. I mean, Andy went to great lengths to try to make this book really, this story, I should say, make this story really as plausible as you can with a fictional story of something that we haven't even done yet. So you can't be completely realistic about it because, there's some things we just don't know.
Yeah.
There's no way. We're not there yet, scientifically, but he did a really, really good job. And what's funny is that I guess there were certain things that he did in the book, or he said in the book, where like when they come up with the whole concept of them using the gravitational I'm so bad with it.
The slingshot maneuver.
The slingshot maneuver kind of thing and stuff, and making it like, that was just this rare idea that nobody had thought of, and NASA was actually like, that's like one of the first things we would have thought of. Like that is not only is that plausible, like that
they saw the voyage home, so obviously.
Right. Exactly. Be like, assholes, was it in Star Trek? Well, then we've already started doing that, because everything that's happened in Star Trek, we have gone on, phasers and two-way comms and all this kind of stuff. They're going to be doing tricorders next. Well, they kind of are, actually. Yeah. So there was a lot. I mean, there was even things that I don't think he knew was like totally plausible that turned out it was. But and then there was other stuff that people were like, no, that's not true. But when they went to do the movie, NASA wasn't so much involved in the making of the book, because when Andy did that book, that was self-published. Like he didn't write that for a publisher or anything. He just was doing it like online.
Yeah. And at first I think it was free. And then his publisher told him, or somebody told him, look, you got to sell this for at least 99 cents or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah. And he it was cool because he kind of did it sort of like, if I'm understanding correctly, it was like, he was going to like any kind of source he could. He was like sourcing material online, even talking to people, being like, hey, I need to know more about this. If people can, anybody out there that knows about, whatever kind of, biochemistry, this and that, blah, 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 like, contact me. I've got questions. Like he really just, it was just like a labor of love project for him. And he's
a multimillionaire, I'm sure, by now.
Yeah, he's made a mint. He's made a mint off of that.
Good on you, Andy.
Yeah.
And your book, Artemis, is awesome, too. And they just got the movie rights for that. So they are, I think, going to make Artemis, which is badass.
Kick-ass, yeah. And that's what I'm saying. So he's, even more respectable that it was done that way. But when they went to go make the movie, NASA got more involved with it, and we're like, all right, because there's some things that are a little bit different. And now, especially when you have to show things, and, NASA tried to get more involved with it to make it even more realistic and accurate and stuff, to the point where NASA even started getting in on the advertising and kind of promotion for the film. They had stuff you could go at I don't know if you knew about this. Did you know that you could go on the NASA website and they had a whole, fictional, obviously, a whole thing where it's like track Mark Watney's movements.
No shit.
Oh, really?
And everything.
That's cool.
So like, like they talked about in the movie, where it was like that in the movie, where they were like, people are able to watch and see this on the NASA website. We don't want somebody seeing this dead astronaut laying there. It was the same thing. They did a thing when the movie was coming out that you could go on the actual NASA site and be like, see what Mark Watney's up to and everything.
Dude, if you're Andy Weir, How jazzed would you be that fucking NASA
Fucking nerd boner.
Yeah, dude, they put your fucking character on their goddamn NASA website.
Fuck yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm saying. That is total fucking nerd boner.
A fictional character you wrote is now on fucking NASA.gov. Like, fuck, dude.
Yeah, that's a big deal. And but it's why did it make on our list? I mean, aside from, we can go on all day about Andy's writing and the story and everything, but the movie itself, the movie is great. It's funny, it's emotional, it's super nerdy. I love the and this is in the book too, but in the movies, I love the interaction of people. Like it's like everybody in that movie is a smart ass. Like, but it's not like the humor that's in the movie. It's not corny. You know,
I love Donald Glover as
Yes.
the Rich Purnell character.
Yeah.
Dude, there's a scene where he's explaining the Hermes the gravitational
Yeah.
thing. He goes, and now we're going to blast off.
Yeah.
And then he goes to Kristen Wiig and he's like, or no, I'm sorry. What's his name? Teddy. The NASA director. I forgot who
Right.
plays him, but he bounces a pen off.
Was it Jeff Daniels? Yeah.
He bounces a pen off Kristen Wiig's head. That was, dude, I laughed out loud during that
Yeah.
scene. That was great.
Yeah. No, exactly. I just it was funny, but it wasn't like corny. It didn't get sappy. It could have
Right.
got sappy, and it didn't never get sappy. Even when they rescue him and stuff, it's not like this, big bombastic music and there's tears and all. Like it felt genuine.
Yeah. Him wanting to fly as Iron Man to get out of the capsule at the end.
That was great. Yeah, I want to be Iron Man. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like everything, it's so rare for me anymore to like have those movies that have that kind of humor and stuff that it's not like eye rolling.
Yeah.
I didn't roll my eyes at this. So, yeah, Martian's a fucking great one. And Meg, you really need to.
Yes.
You need to not fall asleep. Okay.
I will try. Maybe I should just try reading the actual book.
Maybe.
I have better luck with a physical book.
Maybe.
I've tried 2 audiobooks. I haven't made it through either one of them. And
Yeah.
they're both apparently to YouTube amazing books.
Yeah, I guess if you have to do the book, then yeah, I would do the book. I have not sat down and read the actual book. I've only done the audiobook.
Oh,
so
okay.
I don't know what that experience would be like, if it's going to
cool.
be the same,
It's hard for me to say because I read the book after I listened. I did the audiobook first, then the
Okay.
book, then the movie. So reading the book was easy because I'd already listened to it. So there's a lot of technical stuff.
Yeah. If I physically read the book, I can just skip over the technical babble.
Yeah, but
probably.
the technical babble's so good.
It is. Did you hear Bray's voice in your head when you were reading the book?
Yes.
Yeah,
oh,
right.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I mean that, and especially when I love certain audiobooks, it has to be that way. 11/22/63.
Dude.
Yep, that's the other one I haven't made it through.
Oh, man.
We will be doing part 2 of
Yeah.
the Stephen King podcast soon. and 11/22/63, your time will come. I love the book, folks. But the fucking TV show, okay.
Fuck that. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, all right. Anyway, so yeah, I don't think. I mean, yeah, man. I mean, I think I think Meg, if you would have been able to watch it, it would have.
I would have made my top 5.
Yeah, I think so. Or at the
So what I
very least,
saw of it, I really liked.
at least an honorable mention.
It would have been in the top 5.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Okay, she's so fucking sure.
I'm positive.
Excuse me.
I'm
all
fucking
right.
positive, okay?
All right.
All right.
Okay.
All right.
Fine.
Okay.
You guys done?
Yeah.
Sure?
I'm done.
You done?
Well, if he's done, I guess I'm done.
I was gonna say another effective thing in the movie is showing Watney's like deterioration. Like they got that stunt double who's
They
like
did a great job
skin
with
and
that.
bones almost.
I wondered how they were going to do that,
Yeah.
because they describe in pretty great detail, like
Yeah.
how, how he's progressively losing all that weight because all that motherfucker's eating is
Potatoes and doing all that physical labor and stuff. I mean, he's not
Right.
getting the
Right.
nutrition he needs. So
Right. I need to go on that diet. Just enough to lose like 20 pounds, man. That's it, But no, I don't need to go on that diet.
You're doing just fine without that diet.
Yeah, I've already. Hey, motherfuckers! I'm going to use this opportunity to be like self-aggrandizing. When you started watching this show back in what was that? May. Yeah, it was May.
May.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, because
We started in March.
We started getting stuff together in March.
but it debuted for your guys' birthdays.
Yeah.
Yes, that's
when,
right.
When you guys first started seeing this in May, I was about 15 pounds heavier than I am now.
Yep.
Yeah. So I was a huge fat fuck at that point.
Oh, Jesus
now
Christ.
now I'm just fat.
Shut up.
I'm probably 15 pounds heavier than I was in May, so that's where his weight went to.
Your weight goes all.
I know
Vito,
it
your
does.
weight's always all over the place, you know. And I went to the gym. Was it yesterday? Right?
Yeah,
Is that when we
yesterday. Yep.
went to the gym.
Yeah.
And my ass fucking did the elliptical for 30 minutes.
Dude, fuck yeah,
I'm
man.
catching up to
All
you.
right, dude.
I'm catching up, Mr. Hour on the elliptical. Can you
I don't even know how
believe
that's possible.
Dude, it takes you at least a week and a half of like
No.
almost every day
Oh,
going
week.
on.
Oh, yeah. Maybe if you
every
do it every
day.
day.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even do 10 minutes. I'm dying.
The first time I tried the elliptical, I couldn't walk literally for 3 days because your thighs are just fucking
Oh, yeah.
burning, man.
Yeah.
Ooh.
It does a number on you. Kicks your
Yeah.
ass quick.
Yeah. So, anyway, yeah. I mean, getting back to the Martian, that's how I really wondered how they were going to do that, because they explained in the movie that, yeah, like you said, I mean, all he's doing is just constantly, a lot of shit he's doing is heavy, plus the whole gravity situation on Mars and everything makes things different and weird and everything. So yeah, I mean, he's doing all this, and then he was getting like 1,200, at some points less than 1,200 calories a day. You know, I'm going, okay, yeah, that's going to seriously affect your physicality. I mean, how are they going to? And they did a great job. Like, I mean, it looked convincing. Yeah, everything, the effects, you know,
It's a gorgeous, gorgeous movie, man.
good looking movie.
It's a Ridley Scott movie, so obviously it's going to look great.
And we didn't bring that up. I mean, there you go, fucking Ridley Scott.
Yeah.
You know,
Sometimes his character developments aren't the greatest, which is why that movie is so low on my list, because it's gorgeous to look at, but it's missing that character and all those nuances that are in the book that are not in the movie for me. So,
and you know what? I mean, as much as I loved Bray's portrayal of all the characters and stuff in the audiobook, they did a great job casting.
oh
that
yeah, they
movie.
did. Your boy Michael Pena's, as Martinez, the pilot there.
Back it up. Just
Back it up.
Just back it. We're just backing up. Yeah, Michael Pena is great.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jessica Chastain, Kristen Wiig, Jeff Daniels, fucking Boromir, Sean Bean.
Yeah.
Mm.
I loved him as their
Mitch.
yes,
right?
Mitch.
And dude, this one scene where they're calling the meeting of, it's called Project Elrond.
Right. Yeah, they reference fucking Lord of the Rings, the meeting, the
Yeah.
Council of Elrond. They reference it with fucking Boromir standing there. I was in the fucking theater like.
I think he even mentions the line. It's from
Yes,
Lord,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
He's the
yeah.
guy that says it. Yeah, right.
I was like, oh fuck. Every fucking mega dork like me was just sitting there like,
Boom.
just little boner, you know.
Got a little Sean Beaner boner, right?
Exactly.
Hey, in one of the movies he doesn't die in.
Holy shit, he just gets fired.
Yeah.
He gets
Oh.
shit
That's true,
canned.
yeah.
It's like, well, here's the good news. You're not going to die. Yes. But you're going to get totally shit canned. Fuck. Yeah, I mean, and it is like such a geek cast too, because you've got, Sean, but you got Boromir, you got Sebastian Stan,
Yeah.
who's fucking Winter Soldier, Bucky Barnes, all about it. Donald Glover, Kate
Yeah.
Mara. It's a great cast.
Yeah.
They did a really, really good job. So belongs up to, that's why for me, it's a solid number 2, man. In mine. Not a sloppy wet number 2, but a solid number 2. I didn't even mean to do that. I'm sorry, folks. Now we're getting into poopy humor. Just that damn poopy fucking Mr. Poopy Butthole. Wee. All right. So, any more we want to say about The Martian? Moving on.
I think we're going to move on.
Moving on.
Moving right along. All right. Let's go to
Moving.
the next one.
Okay.
All right, so let's move on to, you know what? Let's change things up a little bit. We're moving on to another movie. Let's talk about Meg's choice of Cave Women on Mars.
Oh boy. Okay. You guys ready for this?
Sure. Nobody's ready for this.
I know you saw bits and pieces of it, but you guys never really gave it a shot.
Right.
That's true.
That is true.
You're like,
I'll
this,
cop to
I'm
that.
done. I made it through the entire thing.
Wow.
It had me dying laughing. That's why I had to put it in here. It's horrible. I admit it. It's terrible. But I was dying laughing. So it's kind of like think Mars Attacks, how horrible that is. But
That's pretty fucking horrible. We'll get into that later.
yeah.
But
I didn't find that one as funny. Mars Attacks. I found Cave Women on Mars more funny, and that's why it's on my list.
Mars Attacks is, I think it's supposed to be, because it's kind of a throwback to like the 50s.
Yeah.
Like, but a Tim Burton spin on it, right? I think.
Well, yeah, it is. And I mean, both Mars Attacks and Cave Women are both intentionally bad.
Yes.
I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's
That's the whole shtick about it.
Yeah,
It's
not
bad.
Birdemic of Mars, it's
Ex-
these guys knew what they were doing and they wanted to make a bad film.
Exactly.
Right.
And they remind me kind of us.
Oh yeah, I can see that.
I could totally see us doing this. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so us.
I think it's inevitable we're gonna make a movie.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
It's gonna.
We're
be,
working up to it.
It's gonna be horrible, but we're
It's
gonna
gonna
do
be
it.
epic.
But we're
Epically horrible.
But we're gonna do it anyway.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll give you this, and we'll talk more. But I'll give you this. If I had to choose between watching Cave Women on Mars or watching Mars Attacks, I will definitely take Cave Women.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with
We'll
that.
get into Mars Attacks later. I'm saving it up.
Okay.
So, yeah, no, it's cool. Yeah, for anybody, I mean, where can people find that movie?
I think I found it on Hulu.
Is that where? Okay,
Yeah, I believe it was on Hulu. I think it was free.
yeah,
It was one of the free ones. That's why I
Right.
watched it.
yeah. So if any of you out there are like into like it's when it came out in 2008, right?
In 2008, yeah. It's a movie. It's like set in the 1950s kind
Right.
of thing, but it's about the future of 1987.
Ooh, the bleak future world of 1997.
Yeah, 1987.
87,
87.
even better.
Even better, yeah.
I'm thinking about this VHS tape I saw at a disc replay in high school that said, in the bleak future world of 1997. But the movie came out in like 1981 or something like that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it was-
Yeah, it's funny how much people thought things would change in just like 15 years or 20 years. Like back then, that would happen a lot.
Yeah.
Like Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Some of that shit came true.
Yeah.
So,
Some of it.
it's, we still don't have a hoverboard though.
No, I
Damn.
do not.
Man. But I mean, yeah, that's that Cave Women on Mars. I mean, it's kind of lampooning the whole 1950s Mars sci-fi schlocky, B-rate drive-in movie
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing that happened. There was just tons of those movies in the 50s. There's more than you could possibly remember. So this was done in 2008, but it was supposed to be done in that style. Yeah, I think they did a pretty decent job. What I saw of it, what kills me about it is I love the idea that you had you sat through that whole movie, but you can't make it through The Martian. Man, oh man.
I know. Something's wrong with me.
I think Vito's rubbing off on you. It's like too good for you to stand for, Vito's like, fuck, I will sit through all of the Ginger Dead Man movies in one sitting.
Well, not the second
Gingerbread.
one. But
Yeah.
Passion of the Crust, that's a tough one.
Yeah,
huh?
I don't know. That one's kind of.
Yeah. But you could do it.
Yeah, if I had to.
No, I think I tried to watch The Martian too late at night and I just fell asleep.
I know.
I do that all the time, so
Yeah.
I totally hear you.
So I need to watch it again. At least figure out where I left off and pick it up from there.
Yeah, that's the thing about some of these sci-fi movies, especially the more science-y ones and stuff, is like you gotta be like into it and alert. You can't watch that or 2001 Space Odyssey. Like if you're sleepy at all or prone to that, that movie doesn't stand a chance.
I'm screwed.
Yeah. So we're going to pump you up with a bunch of coffee one day and we're going to make you watch all those movies, you know. But all right, cool. So anything more you want to say about that one?
Not really, no. I think we covered it all. Just it's a kind of like Amazonian women on Mars where there's a good side, there's a bad side. And they're actually dressed in white and black. Just to make sure you understand.
Just to make it totally clear. Yeah. And it is online for people to watch. It's free and everything. So if you're into that kind of stuff, you know, it sounds like something to be fun to watch.
Something goofy, just take it at face value.
Get some pizza and beers on a rainy Saturday night and watch Cave
Make it
Women
a
on
drinking
Mars.
game.
Oh.
And die. At every stupid thing they do, take a drink and you'll die.
No, that's not a good idea. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
But okay. So
yep.
All right.
Cave Women on Mars. Check it out.
Moving on from there, I think we should discuss one of Vito's favorites. Let us talk about Total Recall.
Total Recall. Recall. Yeah. I mean, yeah, this is another movie I saw like pretty young. I think I was 8 when this came out. So
yeah, I saw it pretty young.
Probably around 9 or 10. I probably saw it first.
I think I was already, if you were like 8, I was like graduating high school. When did it come out? 90?
90, yeah.
Okay, so that's the year I graduated, right? So sounds about right.
And one of the earliest memories of watching this movie is that scene when him and Rachel Ticotin, it's like the dream sequence at the beginning when they're walking on the cliff and he slips and falls and he breaks his faceplate and then his eyes just bug out. I was like, holy fuck, is that what happens to you on Mars? Like, oh my God, your eyes just bug out like that? And then it's...
That's awesome.
Yeah, fucking goofy, but it was effective, man, when you're a kid.
Yeah.
And of course, the chick with the 3 tits. I mean, you're not going to, you know.
So it's all about, for Vito, it was all about bugging out eyes and 3 tits. Nothing else.
That was, 2 things in that movie that...
Yeah, it's a cool movie. It's funny because Total Recall is one of those ones that it by so many people it's kind of considered one of those like definitive Mars movies.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was for a long time. Like that's a movie that time has been very kind to.
Yeah, I don't know if it did that well when it first came out.
It didn't. It did okay.
Really?
No, it did okay, but it wasn't. You know how fucking now it's like, you know how you can quote, get your ass to Mars. There's all these quotes about it. You can bring up little things to people in general, the general public, and they're going to be like, oh yeah, Total Recall. Like everybody knows it. That's not how it was when it came out. It was kind of it wasn't a flop by any means at all. It wasn't a flop, but it wasn't like held in that same regard. Now I think people look at it like, oh yeah, Terminator 2 and Conan and these things, and it's like, and Total Recall is like right up there. It was not perceived that way back then. Yeah. So
but just the visions of Mars and all the practical effects they used in that movie were great, man. All the mutants, like how they looked, Arnold's face, when he's doing the 2 weeks thing. Michael Ironside's in it, so that's a fucking huge plus. Ronnie Cox, I mean, yeah, man. Total Recall is the fucking shit.
Yeah, it's good cast. What's her face? It's the blonde
Sharon
Stone. Yeah, she was good in that. Everything. Yeah, I mean, I remember the biggest thing, the thing that stood for you, it was the 3 tits and the bugging out eyes. I think. I
mean, I'm playing that up as a joke, but they were great. Don't get me wrong, they were great.
They were great.
But no, the actual just the vision of Mars that they portrayed in that movie, I thought was awesome. Man.
Right? Yeah, I thought it was cool. But the thing that stood out, I remember for me and a lot of people like that I knew, like the whole thing that really got focused on was the fat woman suit.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Scene. That was like the thing. I remember that. And I remember when that happened, when she said like,
"Get ready for a surprise,"
and then it fucking opens up, and Arnold's in there.
Yeah,
and it's so funny because I remember when that first happened, and I remember being like, "Holy fuck, that's badass, bro!" Like we were all like, "That's badass," and then I watched it not long ago, and I'm like, "That looks fucking terrible."
You think so?
That Arnold that's inside there, that fucking that fucking waxy.
I
Look
guess
at Arnold. That looks terrible.
I don't know if it's terrible.
It's terrible. But it, for the time, it was like, wow, that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's one of those effects that does not stand the test of time. But it's kind of lends itself to its charm, like it's charming. Like I can watch T2 and like the effects in that are somewhat dated and everything, but I don't watch it and go, fuck, that's so dated. This movie, some of it, I'm like, oh yeah, okay. This is very 1989, 1990, but it's a great story.
Paul Verhoeven, I mean, he's a fucking director, dude. His use of excessive violence to the point of absurdity, and like that's the whole point of it,
right?
You know,
he makes it ridiculous.
Yeah, because it's kind of a satire type of deal, but.
Right? Intentionally overdone. Yeah.
See you with the party, Richter. That scene where he's fucking holding on to Michael Ironside, his arms get ripped off with the elevator. Remember that scene? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Dude.
I hated that part. I'm so afraid of, I have no problem riding in elevators and stuff like that, but I'm so like freaked out by like elevator mishaps and stuff. I don't know. It just bothers me.
That scene with the crowbar where he just yanks it through that dude's fucking jugular vein and he's hanging out.
Oh. See, yeah. Ooh. Oofa.
Kind of like a loofah, but you got the oof in there.
Yeah, I'm not big on the like excessive violence thing, but I know some of you guys think that shit's funny. But, and it is. You're right.
Because of the levels he takes it, it's just
over the top.
Yeah,
intentionally. Yeah. But yeah, man. I don't think there's many people out there that are going to argue with you about it being in the list. Did not make my list. I'll say right now, just that's an honorary mention. Absolutely, it was originally in the list.
Yeah, same for me. When we first started this, it's like Total Recall's in the list.
Yeah, it was originally in the list, and then Mission to Mars ended up. I'd kind of forgotten about Mission to Mars, and I was like, oh shit, and I revisited it. And I'm like, this has got to be in there.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously for you, it's your.
Yeah, I mean, it's
your. Yeah, but I mean, once I remember, I was like, oh yeah, this has got to be in there, and just. Yeah, like it's another one of those ones where even though it's totally a Mars movie. For me, I'd rather save that more so because we're going to be talking about Schwarzenegger soon. I guess we're, surprise.
You heard it here first.
We already talked about it several times.
Get ready for a surprise. Yeah, is that the next episode is going to be about Schwarzenegger.
That's gonna be another tough list, man.
Oh man, that's gonna be way harder than
yeah,
this
for
list.
Sure.
Just when we start talking about it the other day and realizing, like, oh my god,
yeah,
like
that has to be in that list. But then we can't put that movie in the list. It's like, oh no.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting, man. That's gonna be a tough one. But in any case, we'll talk more about Recall.
Yeah.
When that gets in, and because that's gonna be on somebody's list.
Yeah.
If not all our lists. Yeah. So anyway, yeah. Totally belongs there. Good one. 1990s Total Recall.
Fuck yeah.
You know what? On that note, speaking of recall, I think that'd be a good time to bring up that it's another installment of the eloquent Goomba Vito coming to you with Vito's tips. So put on your best Sunday clothes and get out to the restaurant and everything. And Vito's waiting for you down there. He's got some tips for you. So check it out.
See you guys. So you're looking for a tip, huh? Well, I got a tip for you. If you find yourself in a whorehouse on Mars and you see this chick with 3 tits, you look her in the eyes when you talk to her like a gentleman, not come un animale. You show that broad some respect. Don't be a bad guy. Be a nice guy, all right?
All right, man. Those were some mighty fine tips.
Yeah, that's.
I always got the mighty fine tips.
He's got just the tip. Vito, just the tip. Marchese. Yeah. No, I think that was good.
That's some solid advice right there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's one to grow on. All right, let's get back into the movies, man. All right, so let's talk about, I think the next movie we should talk about is that, because all three of us had it, was Red Planet. What do you want to say about that? What you got to say about that? Huh? Say some shit.
Goofy Val Kilmer moments.
Goofy Val Kilmer moments.
Best part of the movie.
Yeah, I really liked Val Kilmer in that. I had pointed out to you guys when we were talking about it the other day, you know, I liked this movie. I knew I liked this movie, and then when I saw it again, I was like, oh yeah. One of the things I liked about it is that Val Kilmer's character in the movie, to me, feels like an extension, like a grown-up version of what happened to his character Chris from the 1985 movie Real Genius. If anybody out there has seen the movie Real Genius with Val Kilmer, he plays this guy Chris, who's this like goofy kind of fuck up like college student guy, you know, but he's actually brilliant. You know, they end up recruiting him to like work for the government against his will kind of thing. Anyway, I'm not going to give away the whole story but it's kind of a comedy. It's sort of a teenish kind of comedy thing, but I love that movie. I love Real Genius, and I loved his character in that. And this literally does feel like, I'm like, holy shit, all he's doing is playing a slightly more mature version of that character from Real Genius. And it's like, so I look at Red Planet like it is the unofficial sequel to Real Genius, and it just makes me like it that much more. Yeah, it's a great movie. It's another one of those ones from the, like I said before, it's another one of those movies from the revisited Mars craze of the late 90s, early 2000s. It did not do well.
It did not do well at all.
No, it cost them $80 million to make, and which was even it cost them less than Mission to Mars
by like 10 million or something, right?
20 mil.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Mission to Mars was like 100 mil.
Wow.
So this wasn't even as expensive, and it made way less. I think it made, I don't have it written down. It made
$33 million.
33
wow.
million.
That's a bomb as fuck.
Yeah.
Bomb as fuck is
and not in the good bomb as fuck way, right?
That is definitely an understatement. Yeah, it did really bad. And I gotta be honest, I'm not completely sure why it did that badly.
Yeah.
If I had to guess, it's because you had 2 Mars movies that year.
I was just gonna say,
Mission to Mars was first.
Right. And and Red Planet felt like the come lately. Yeah. That's kind of how I remember it. I don't know if I'm just remembering it, wrong. But that's kind of how I remembered it, was that like Mission to Mars was the one everybody was making a big deal out of. Like that's the movie to see. But then Red Planet was like this, what the fuck is this? Val Kilmer,
It's got the Armageddon versus Deep Impact syndrome to me a little bit. I see a lot of similarities between those two and these two.
Right.
Right. Whereas like Armageddon is more of the action-packed thing, where Red Planet is more of the action-packed between the two.
Right.
Deep Impact is more of the emotional drama of the two.
Right.
And Mission to Mars, to me, is the emotional drama.
Yeah,
of the two,
I think, absolutely. I think so. But for me, I really prefer slightly Red Planet over to Mission to Mars. I know you don't agree with me on that,
No.
but I just I have complaints about the movie too, though. one of the things I think I was pointing out to you was that, Megan, is that I feel like when you watch this movie, it feels like it was edited. It feels like it was supposed to be a longer movie that was supposed to be structured a little bit differently. And somebody came in and said, no, that movie, it's too long. It's too boring. There's too much exposition here. It takes too long to get to all the action on Mars. We need to chop it down, and we'll take some of the more important points or whatever of the character exposition, and we'll do it in flashbacks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, because that's how you find out more about, you know, Kilmer's relationship with Terrence Stamp, you know, and everything. It's more like in flashback. His budding relationship between him and Bowman, Carrie Ann Moss, that's kind of all done more in flashback. Now, I didn't mind the whole flashback thing. I was like, okay, that's creative. It's different. But I just kind of felt, like I said, to me, it felt like I have a feeling there's a whole bunch more story here that we didn't get. And it ended up making just the plot feel a little flimsy.
Yeah.
You know, at times. But I like the cast. I thought it was a really good cast. Carrie Ann Moss, Tom
She was great. Yeah, he was really good in this movie.
Yeah. He was a necessary element in
He did this weird Christopher Walken, William Shatner thing at one point where he's talking about the algae because he's like out of breath.
Right.
And the algae creates oxygen, and it was just really
exactly. I really love the cast, and I think that with that cast, Benjamin Bratt was in it.
Yeah, that was cool, man. Him and the throwaway character, the guy who throws him off the cliff. I don't remember what his name was.
Simon. I can't think of his name. Hang on, go ahead.
Yeah, so I thought that was a really cool concept, and that might have been part of that editing thing you were talking about, because I don't feel we got the
all the tension.
Yeah, like where did that come from between those two?
That's what I'm talking about. Yes, thank you. That's exactly. His name is Simon Baker.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sorry, Simon.
Yeah.
But your character is
Sorry, Simon.
underutilized.
I'm holding up my Simon game here. Sorry. Anyway, fuck this thing. It's gonna start angrily buzzing at me.
Yeah, then ticked it off now.
So, yeah.
Yeah, because Benjamin Button was real good in that role. It was like, why don't you go die like a man instead of a pussy or whatever he said to him. And that's when the dude just lost it and he pushed him.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I feel like there was stuff missing. And I think that, I think it ended up making the plot feel thin. I get the idea that they didn't want to drag it out, make it one of those kind of sci-fi movies and everything, but I don't know. I think it was the wrong choice. I think they would have been better off. Well, clearly, because it's not like it could have done much fucking worse. I think they would have been better off fleshing it out a little bit more. I mean, yeah, you've got actors like Terrence fucking Stamp, man.
Dude, General Zod. And this time, he has to kneel before Mars.
No shit. Right? I wish they could have had him, like, they needed to have, like, another thing, like we were talking about with Sean Bean referencing Lord of the Rings and stuff. They needed to have him on, like, the comm, because when Carrie Ann Moss keeps talking to Houston.
Yeah.
And, come in, Houston. They needed to have Terrence Stamp going, come in, Houston. Like,
Planet Houston?
Planet Houston? Yeah. It's a Star Trek II reference. Because, Terrence Stamp was fucking General Zod. Oh, we'll talk about that at some point, man.
That's coming down the pipe, too.
Oh, that's already, that is.
We got some good things in store for that one.
For Superman. Yeah, we do. I can't wait till we do that. You think some of the shit we do now is stupid. Oh man. Just wait.
You got no idea.
We've got some good stupidity planned. But I'm just saying, you got guys like Terrence Stamp, who's such a great actor. I think such a great actor. And I loved, they only kind of, again, it was like everything was just sort of hinted at, that tension between Bratt and Baker's characters. You kind of gathered you got enough of the Val Kilmer and Carrie-Anne Moss, kind of where that was going and everything. But even just like the fact that Kilmer ends up becoming really close with in a way and feeling almost like spiritually and, challenged and changed by Terrence Stamp's like way of
philosophical view
philosophies
or whatever, yeah.
and stuff, and becoming like mentor-ish to him.
Yeah.
And it's just slightly hinted at. And I'm like, oh man, see, that's all way more interesting to me than even some of the other shit, like that they got into. I don't know. I think a lot of times I think trimming down the fat on these movies is like a good thing. This is one of those times where I feel like this movie would have done better.
Yeah.
More
What
fleshed
I
out.
missed is, how did the janitor be the one in charge? When did that happen?
Well, I don't think he had much of a choice. I mean, I don't think he was supposed to be in charge. It's just he was like the most
He's
level.
the one that took charge.
He was the most level-headed one out
Yeah.
of all of them.
It's like rank went out the window. He just took charge and
Yeah, exactly.
he
Yeah,
wanted
'cause
to
who
bone the
was-
captain. So
Yeah, well, who was the one aside from her?
Well-
It was Brat kind of more.
Brad was more of like the pilot.
He was the hot shot.
Yeah, but Bowman was kind of in charge of the whole thing. She was kind of the commander, I believe, of the whole mission
Yeah.
while they were out there.
Right.
So, because Tom Sizemore was just like the geneticist type of guy.
Right.
So he didn't really have that leadership quality they needed. Benjamin Button was their Brad.
Benjamin Button. He's a curious case.
Yeah, he is. He was just more of that macho, like, fuck you, I know what I'm doing. You're going to listen to me and I'll get us there. It doesn't matter if I landed us off course. It doesn't fucking matter. I'll get us there or whatever. But yeah, Val Kilmer, I think, was the most level-headed guy. He figured out the rotation of the hab with those two rocks.
Yeah.
He figured out where to go. And so,
Well, that's why he was
Okay.
that's why he was like Chris from Real Genius. Everybody
Yeah.
writes him off as being just this like kind of goofball, like whatever, like we're not going to listen to this guy. And then it turns out like, no, he's actually real fucking smart, and he's smarter than the rest of you. So fuck you.
yeah, shut up and listen.
Exactly.
If you want to live, shut up and listen.
yeah.
Come with me if you want to live. Yeah. Wrong movie. But yeah, and I thought there was great. I mean, they didn't get too super sciencey with it, but I love the concept of, okay, and like on one hand, it gets a little typical that it's like, oh, go figure, fucking alien Martian insect things, Starship Troopers,
Yeah.
But I like that they did it differently. Like this wasn't that they were just, some creatures they were battling with, and I love the idea of that they produced oxygen, and it was
Yeah.
like they're the key. Like holy shit, like they didn't even think about it. That wasn't even what they were there for thinking, and it's like, nope, this is gonna be the thing that saves us. I liked that twist. I thought,
Mhm.
oh, a twist.
And then Tom Sizemore decides to blow them all up.
Well,
Thanks a lot, douchebag.
well, they still saved those couple.
They
That's
did.
why he tossed them that fucking
Yeah.
beaker, thing with it. Take these bugs, take them to Earth. So anyway, yeah, it's a good movie. I think it belongs in the list. I think it's a cool movie. I think people should give it another chance. If you can look past some of its weaker points and everything, I think it's it's just kind of a, I don't know if fun is the word for it, but I think it's a fun movie. It's just like a cool like Saturday night, get some beers and
Yeah,
pizza
it's-
and like watch Red Planet, man. It's
Yeah.
just like
It's not you're not going to come to some, grand conclusion about the universe watching this
Right.
movie,
It's-
but
it's not as
it's a good
long.
ride.
Good entertainment.
you know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's.
Yeah.
I thought it was really entertaining, and I think people should give it more of a chance.
Yeah.
I think it's one of the better ones from that splurge
Time
of
era,
movies.
yeah.
Yeah.
What I learned today was that Val Kilmer and Tom Sizemore hated each other.
Did you know about that?
They had to
Partly.
they do stunt doubles too.
Most
Get
of their
it filmed.
scenes, most of their scenes, they weren't actually even in it together. It was like body.
I remember
doubles
hearing, okay.
and stuff. Yeah, fucking Tom Sizemore threw like a 50-pound
That's
weight.
right. Okay, I did hear that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but I guess they're friends again, from what I understand. Like they've made up and everything. Well, Val Kilmer used to be like really egotistical.
And Tom Sizemore was doing a lot of meth at this time, I believe.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, and I mean, but yeah, I think Val Kilmer's been knocked down a few notches since then, man. He's half the man he used to be. Or if you look at him, he
Yeah,
looked
I
like
was just gonna
twice the
say
man.
it's pretty funny. It was overweight, and they're
yeah, he's
look at him
twice-
now.
Yeah. That guy was such a heartthrob in the 90s.
He was.
Like,
Oh,
women
God,
were
yes.
crazy.
He's
about
fucking Bruce Wayne, for Christ's sake.
Yeah, Jim Morrison. Don't fucking do it. Don't do it. Don't you do it, you motherfucker. Don't start ripping on my doors, man. Okay. Anyway. All right. Yeah, wrapping that up. So Red Planet. Cool. It's a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to Miss Megan's choice.
Oh, okay.
Mars Needs Moms.
Oh, it's so cute. Who doesn't love a cartoon?
There's a lot of cartoons I don't love. There's quite a few that I love cartoons. But
That's
see,
a good point.
But, part of the problem for me is I think I'm a different generation. You guys are younger and you grew up more with like those Pixar-y kind of movies. And I do like some of those, but I don't know. Mars Needs Moms.
I thought it was cute that the little boy was being a little chicken shit, hated his mom.
Right. Yeah, he was
being
a little
total asshole to her and
he
everything.
was a little fucking puke, man.
Yeah, fuck that kid.
Exactly.
And then, of course, conveniently, she gets kidnapped by the Martians, and he's got to go save her. Like, he runs after the ship and everything and gets taken up there, and he finds another kid that taken up there too, and they go save the moms and completely retrain the whole species. So,
yeah.
I thought it was a cute little concept, and it's different.
Yeah, it is. It's cool. And I think it's cool to mention it because it is, other than The Martian, we don't have a whole lot of more recent, because when did that come out? Pretty recent.
2011.
Yeah. Okay. So fairly recent. And I mean, we don't have a whole lot. There hasn't been much, I think, as of late, and especially
there was The Space Between Us, which had Gary Oldman in it,
right?
But a kid that was born on Mars has to come back to Earth, which I haven't seen yet.
Oh,
but,
that's
yeah,
right.
it looked like kind of like a young adult romance
movie.
Yeah,
so
it's an That's an interesting one. Yeah, I
totally
keep
forgot
forgetting
about
that.
Yeah.
I wanted to see that actually.
yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, there hasn't been like a whole lot. I mean, we grew up with so much Mars stuff being thrown at us, 70s, 80s, 90s. And then in the last decade, there just hasn't been that much. So it's kind of cool that it's something.
Yeah, this was a total bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was $150 million to make. 39.
Jesus Christ,
man! So what is that? A fifth? It made 1/5 of its
Yeah.
budget.
Jesus.
Yeah, that's bad.
Yeah,
That's real bad.
that sucks.
But it was so cute. I don't even understand. Parents didn't take their kids to see this damn movie. What the hell?
Can I be honest with you?
Mm-hmm.
It's because that title sucks.
No,
Mars
it's
Needs
too
Moms.
cutesy.
It sounds too 1952, and I get that was the idea, but yeah, I mean, that was as soon as I remember seeing the trailer when I was in the fucking theater, and I was like, next. No thanks. Like yeah, it was. I think it was just.
It wasn't advertised correctly.
Yeah,
Named correctly.
It could have been. Yeah, it could have been marketed differently.
Okay.
That's my opinion. And that kid's a little fucking punk ass puke. Fuck that kid.
Yeah.
Should have started with him being like, I hate you, Mom. I wish you were dead. I wish you didn't even have a mom. And then all of a sudden a fucking alien comes in and is like, fucking,
Kills his mom in front of him?
no, kills.
He just takes
his mom in front of him. Like, that's what
I heard your pleas, young child from Earth.
Fucking alien bursts in. He's like, yeah, I heard what you said. Check this shit out. My mom. Fuck you, kid. Blows them both away like a fucking G.I. Joe PSA. Like that fucking thing crawling in through the window. Yeah. Fucking just blast them.
Oh, man.
Oh, we got to talk about those someday.
Yeah,
man.
for sure.
Fuck, I love those things.
Careful.
But I in all seriousness, I think it timing and marketing and just,
Yeah, it was even written by H.G. Wells' grandson or something.
Really?
I thought it
Yeah.
was his great grandson, but
Something
it
like
might be
that.
his
A
grandson,
relative.
Simon Wells.
No
yeah,
shit.
Simon Wells. Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's definitely that alone. Cool, man.
Yeah, that as soon as I heard that, I was like, yep, it's going in my top 5.
That
Alright.
gives it pedigree. You
Keep
know?
it in the
Exactly.
family.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. Cool. All right. Anything more you want to say about that one?
No, I think we're good on it.
I feel
Give
bad.
it a
like
shot.
I feel bad like we're just blazing through your choices, but unfortunately,
okay.
I don't have that much to say about it.
No.
Yeah, I haven't seen it, so
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Yeah, not much to say about them. I just thought they were cute and they deserve to be in a top 5 somewhere. So I'm the one to do so.
Hey, Vito here. Thanks for checking out the newest episode of the Geeking Poetic Podcast.
If you like what you see, make sure you click one of the links below and give us a follow.
Make sure you leave a comment, hit that like button, and subscribe.
And make sure to check back soon for more content.
Now, back to the show.
Bye.
All right. So moving on to one of my choices. I'm like Megan. You were kind of out on your own with Mars Needs Moms.
Yeah.
I'm going to be out on my own limb right now, talking about the Martian Chronicles. Now you've at least heard of it, and
Yes.
stuff and everything. You're familiar somewhat with it. Yeah. So it was like I said earlier, it was a TV miniseries. Came out in late January of 1980. It literally came out the 3 days leading up to my birthday. So I remember that too. That's what's crazy about it. I was turning 7, and it was a big deal. Like when this was coming out, this was like a big deal. I mean, to put you in the time frame, it was like 1979, 1980. You know, the sci-fi thing was still a big deal. Star Wars had just blown the roof off of that. Close Encounters was another one. Then you had things like Battlestar Galactica. You know, I don't remember if it was out yet, but you had the Buck Rogers remake. You know, it had come out and all that kind of stuff. There was, you know, Doctor Who was on PBS. It was the Tom Baker Doctor Who. So sci-fi was like super happening, and everybody was trying to jump onto that. And there hadn't been any kind of TV. We talked about this in the Stephen King thing. TV miniseries back in the 70s and especially the 80s was like such a phenomenon. Like,
Yeah.
it was such a thing that, you know, you'd turn on ABC and you'd have that guy with that voice, a multi-night event, you know, only on ABC, you know. And then we talk about, you know, the Rock Hudson, the Martian Chronicles, like, and you'd be like, holy fuck, can't wait. You know, and everybody would stay home and watch. It was, you know,
The thing to do, right?
thing to do. I mean, this was largely a cable existed, but it wasn't a thing yet, you know. So this was what you watched, and it was a big deal. And my mom and dad were big sci-fi people. They're the ones that had me watch War of the Worlds. It got me into Star Trek. Took me to see Close Encounters. Blah blah blah. So when Martian Chronicles was coming out, they were pretty jazzed. Like especially my dad was like, we got to watch that. But I remember the whole thing was also that they were kind of marketing it sort of like, you know, parental guidance suggested kind of thing. And I was like, ooh. And I was like such an innocent kid, man. I was such a wimpy kid. Like I would hear things like that and I'd be like, oh man, I don't know if I can. I don't know if I should be watching that. Let's put it this way. You remember, you know, Toffee Fays, the candy Toffee Fay. Have you ever heard of that? They
No.
still make them. Yeah, they're little candy cup thing. But the slogan about Toffee Fays that were the same time frame was Toffee Fay. It's too good for kids. And I remember one of my friends, fucking Fat Robbie Johnson. I remember Robbie Johnson coming to me. Well, he liked candy a lot. All right, no, I loved Robbie.
So that's a clever name, then.
Yeah, he was my bud. I loved Robbie. But Robbie came to me and he was like, "Dude, I got all this Toffee Fay," and I was like, "I can't eat that. It's too good for kids." I was like, I took it literal. I literally thought like I'm not allowed to eat that, you know, like. Because, you know, up to that point, you know, my parents, you know, my dad would be, you know, drinking a beer or something and he'd be like, "Oh, this isn't for kids," you know, and all these things. So when I heard like Toffee Fay, "Oh, it's too good for kids," I was like, "Oh, I can't." I'd be like, "Robbie, you can't eat that. What are you doing? You're going to get in trouble." I was a strange kid. But anyway, I remember that was on TV and it was just on regular network television. I think it was ABC, actually. No, maybe it was NBC. I should have looked that up. I don't remember. But in any case, yeah, it was a big deal. It was a big event. And it's funny because that's a Bradbury story. And what's interesting about that one is that it's not actually one story. What they did was they took a whole bunch of like individual stories. It's kind of made
like
up
a
of
4 or 5 part.
It's
thing or
at
something?
least, well, it was 3 episodes, and it was made up of all these little mini stories that in the books and everything, they're not intended to be a serial. Like, it's not intended to be tied to, they're all individual stories, but they took it and made it into like a concise kind of like, story. And they have like Rock Hudson's character as the one captain pilot guy, kind of like goes all through it, and they changed things around. This was adapted. The screenplay was written by Richard Matheson, who I love because he wrote the book Bid Time Return, which was adapted into the movie Somewhere in Time.
Oh, okay.
Which is one of the best time travel stories ever. The book's cool too. It's a little different than the movie, but the book is really cool. Matheson wrote a lot of books. Like he wrote I Am Legend. That was adapted later for I Am Legend. It was adapted for the Omega Man.
Okay, with Heston.
Yeah. He wrote Stir of Echoes.
Oh.
He wrote Legend of Hell House. And here's the one that most of the people are going to be like, oh, fuck yeah, especially us nerds out there. He wrote the book that inspired Nightmare at 20,000 Feet.
Oh, no shit.
From Twilight Zone.
Nice, dude.
Yep.
Awesome.
So that's all Richard Matheson.
All right.
This miniseries has quite a, pedigree to it. It's got, it's Bradbury's stories. Matheson's like adapting it for screenplay. They got Rock Hudson, Darren McGavin, who was the actor that he played the father in Christmas Story.
Oh, okay.
You know him.
Yeah, all right.
He was also Kolchak, the Night Stalker.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
probably
yeah.
going back before most people's time. Bernadette Peters, Roddy McDowell is in it. Nicholas Hammond, that I have to mention because Paul Kerr will be, because Nicholas Hammond was the 70s live action Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
Peter Parker
All
from
right.
those awful movies.
Yeah, yeah.
They're great. They're bad, but they're great. It had this like really cool, this Fritz Weaver, who was what was his character's name? He was in the Crate part of
Creepshow.
which
Yeah.
we should know,
Yeah.
obviously, because we have a song about it. So anyway, really good cast, screenwriter, right? All this stuff. It should have been like a knock out of the park.
And it wasn't.
Well, it was a 1980 made-for-television miniseries, so
Not so much.
not so much. It had some flaws to it. Yeah. The funny thing about it is, so Bradbury was really critical of other sci-fi stuff. He hated Star Wars. Bradbury, he didn't. I mean, even though he influenced Lucas to come up with, like, Bradbury was like, ugh, this is crap. He was like, this isn't science fiction. This is fantasy. This is whatever. It's generic, And he was like boastful. Reportedly, if I remember this correctly, he was boasting a lot about wait till they do Martian Chronicles, and then everybody will see the way it's done. And so they did. And then apparently a little while later, when asked about it in like Starlog or something like that, I think it was in Star, he was just like, oh God, that was so boring. he was totally dismissive of it. It was like all his hopes and dreams of being like, you're going to see a real science fiction epic. And he was just like, oh man, they fucked it up.
Well, at least he was honest about it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
You know?
true. Yeah. It's a cool story, man. I definitely think, I'm sure if you watch it, it's going to feel dated. I know how you feel about some of these dated things, like, Salem's Lot and those kind of things. It's dated, but I think it's interesting. There's some really cool stories in there. There's like there's a lot of twists on some of these stories, and it will feel like that. It's almost like watching this long, because it's long, man. It's like 4 or 5 hours. But it almost feels like watching a movie that's made up of a bunch of Twilight Zone or Outer Limits,
Okay.
skits, stories that
Kind
are
of more like an anthology type of
almost
thing,
more
right?
anthology-ish, but then they have these certain characters and themes that sort of
In a way,
carry throughout it that makes it feel like, okay, this kind of fits together. You should check it out
All right.
sometime. You can get it on DVD. It's available and everything. But yeah, sorry, that's a lot of me talking. I know you guys don't have much to say, but for me, Martian Chronicles, just to sum it up, it was important to me because it was another one of those first ones. I watched it. I was all afraid of it. There was a big hoopla made about it. I didn't understand a lot of it at the time, but it really intrigued me. It really interested me. And I liked the fact it was cool that unlike War of the Worlds, it wasn't about like, saucers and creatures and all this stuff. The aliens in this were not, I don't want to give too much away, but they're not like that. They're not these fucking Simon-faced women screaming, monsters like in War of the Worlds and stuff. They're, they have a human element to them, and that they're a society and all this. It's interesting. So yeah, check it out sometime. All right. So now I have a feeling we're gonna get into a bit of a wrestling match here, because the next movie we are going to discuss is Stranded.
Fuck.
Now, disclaimer real quick. I'm going to let you two, this is going to be all you guys, because I have not seen it yet. Vito just gave me this smile, man. He's like, he can still be won over.
I may be spoiling a couple things for you.
That's okay. I know everything that
Well,
happens.
okay.
I
What
just
was your
haven't seen
gripe
it.
about it before we start?
Well, okay. So
Because you saw part of it?
I've seen little snippets of it,
Okay.
and I read the whole thing,
I
so
got you.
I
Okay.
know the story.
Okay. Then
So I
never-
know
okay.
what happens. So you're not spoiling anything for me, because it's me. I'm Mr. Spoiler. I'd like to spoil it. But here's the thing. So Stranded, I heard about it. I didn't get around to watching it kind of intentionally, and part of it was because Vito said it was great. Megan said it was awful. And so taking what I know of that, I went, oh, fuck it. Okay, I don't need to watch it then. Because if Vito thinks it's great, it means it could probably be awful. And if Megan says it's awful, then it's really awful. But that being said, then I read about it and I was like, oh, well, okay, it's kind of interesting though. Like, I wouldn't mind seeing how this plays out. And then, and I know this is probably totally stupid, fucking Johnny Ramone is in
Yes.
it? Dude.
Dude. Yeah.
Dude. I never, you got to understand, I am a huge Ramones fan. I have been since I was literally like 7 or 8 years old when I first saw Rock and Roll High School. Okay? Like when it was a new movie. I fucking love the Ramones. Okay? I had no idea Johnny Ramone ever even acted, much less was in this.
Well, I wouldn't
fucking
call
movie.
this acting from Johnny Ramone,
Yeah.
but yeah, he plays pretty kind of like the pilot of the ship that brings him to Mars. He's up in orbit while they go land.
Right.
And something gets fucked up. They crash land. He's still stuck up in orbit, but he's got to get back home because he knows they're fucked. He can't help them. He's like, well, I'm not going to stay here. I'm fucking bailing. And there's this part, he could totally give a shit less about these people, the way he portrays it. He goes, yeah, just read the data. Listen, I got a long journey back. I have to go. Goodbye. And he just fucking leaves.
You know what's great about that? You know what's fucking awesome about that? In all seriousness, that was Johnny Ramone. That's how he was as a person. Like Johnny.
Wow.
Oh, Johnny Ramone was. He was. Ooh. He was a dick. He was awesome at the same time. But yeah, Johnny Ramone was just very. If you ever watch interviews with him, that's him. He'll just be like, well, don't really fucking care.
He's got that accent,
Yeah,
which is in the movie. Which
well,
it's
there's no
yeah.
change in that accent. He's just like, yeah. They'd ask him these questions and be like, so yeah, it's famously we heard that like Joey Ramone, you were in a band with him for 35 years, but that he hated your guts because you basically stole his girlfriend from him and then you ended up marrying her and everything. And he's like, well, yeah, fuck them. That's the way it goes. You know, had to fucking deal with it. That's it. So that's Johnny Ramone, man. So that pretty much sounds. It's like they wrote that character and were like, who could be like? Somebody was like, fuck, that sounds like Johnny Ramone, and it's like, call him up. Yeah, call him up.
Oh shit, we got him.
But yeah, I mean, Johnny Ramone, rest in peace. He's much like all the other. I don't know if you know this, but all 4 of the original Ramones that were on the first 3 or 4 albums, they're dead. They're all gone. Johnny, Joey, Dee Dee, and Tommy, they're all dead, man. 3 of them from cancer, 1 of them from drugs. But yeah, so Johnny Ramone, you know, that was kind of. I don't think it was that much longer after this movie that he.
This
passed.
was 2001, I believe.
Yeah, and he passed. Gosh, I remember it was. I'm almost sure it was on one of our trips we went with November's Doom. I remember we got back and like the plane landed, and I got the news. It was. Like,
I vaguely remember.
Do you
that.
remember
Yeah,
that?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I was so bummed because he's one of my heroes, you know. But yeah, so I don't care how fucking awful this movie is. Johnny Ramone's in it. I'm watching it. Like, I don't care, even if it's a short little part, doesn't matter.
Yeah, he's in there for like a minute at the beginning, but
that's fine. Yeah. Like, I will at least watch that. So, but anyway, that's it. So I am actually, that's why I said it's a big question mark, because I was like, whatever, I don't. But now that I read about it, the Johnny Ramone thing, and there's certain things, Vince Gallo's in it, huh?
Yeah.
Interesting.
He's really good in this movie.
Yeah, I actually kind of like Vince Gallo. So,
he plays Luca, who is this.
He lives on the second floor. His name is Luca. His parents beat him up. Yeah. No. Anyway, sorry. Suzanne Vega song.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he plays this cold kind of scientific guy who doesn't really care about your feelings. He just gives you the hard facts and is like, "Listen, we're fucked. We're stranded here. We're gonna die unless we do this." And everybody, there's like this. What I love about this movie is there's all these different. People have all these different positions. There's this ultra optimistic dude who's like, I don't care what happens. We'll figure out a way and do it. Where Vince Gallo's like, listen, dude, these are the facts. We're dead. We're dead. We cannot survive. This is what it is. So I'm just going to spend the day just jerking off, which he does, which is pretty funny. You see him come out of the bathroom with a porno mag and he just jerked off. And he tries to fuck the girl that's a.
Yeah, it's like, we're going to die.
Yeah,
would you just fuck me, please? I don't want to die alone. Like, really? That's all you fucking care about? Piece of shit.
So anyway, yeah. So that's why this movie is just a big question mark. So let's have the proverbial verbal wrestling match go on between you, because as I already told you folks, Vito loves this movie, and Megan fucking hates this movie.
I think it portrays a good like relationship between the guys and the women that are trapped there, like how the tensions arise between all of them. I think was done really well. Now, of course, this is a Spanish and Portuguese half-produced movie, so there's voiceover dubs, which are pretty awful, and some of the dialogue is pretty bad, I will admit.
Oh my god, it's awful.
Yeah, but
I can't even take them talking anymore. This is terrible. We could do a better job.
Maybe.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Some of it's pretty bad.
Terrible.
Yes, I will admit, but I love the story because they get stranded on Mars. Their air is about to run out. They only have air, food, and water left for 2 people if they want to survive the 2 years it's going to take for a trip. So they decide, all right, 3 of us are going to go for a walk. So they literally get in their spacesuits and go for a walk so these other 2 can survive. They go to Valles Marineris, walk down to the trench, and they find out that there's structures there that were made by an ancient civilization. 2 of them make it. The ultra-optimistic dude, Herb, ends up dying. So the other 2...
It sucks to be you.
Yeah,
way to be optimistic.
No, he's the first one that died because he was like hyperventilating because he was using all his fucking air like a dumbass.
Yeah. But he got to die under the moons of Barsoom. So he was a
well.
big Edward Rice Burroughs fan. He loved the John Carter novel, so we got to finally see Mars and all that stuff. But anyway, Susanna and Fidel get into the caves, and they find out there's air. We can take our helmets off, and there's actually breathable air and atmosphere down here.
Right.
So everybody can survive if they meet us here. But Fidel ends up going into a pure vacuum tunnel and ends up dying. So Susanna's the only one that is left, but Vince Gallo and the other girl that are left in the capsule make it to the valley. They all reunite, and it's...
Have a threesome?
No.
Probably.
Much-
he probably
much-
fucking talked him into it.
much to Vince Gilligan's dismay.
Yeah.
Well,
Which-
this is a guy who did get his dick sucked in a movie
Right.
for real
Yeah.
once. Did you ever
Yeah.
hear about that?
No.
Oh
Really?
yeah, what was his name? Brown Bunny.
Brown Bunny, yeah, with
Yeah.
Chloe.
Chloe Savini.
Yeah.
he
Oh,
was-
really?
Chloe Savini. Yeah, she actually blows him in the movie
For
real, and they show it
Wow.
full on, full X-rated, dick in the mouth.
Wow.
Like, yeah, it was one of those like,
That explains a lot.
yeah, it was one of those like, oh, wow, oh, wow, okay, yeah, that's real. That's not there.
That's the real deal.
That's but Chloe and Vince, I mean, that's they're artistes.
Yeah.
Mm.
They're artistes, so they were just like, yeah, we're gonna, and they were dating at the time, so it was like,
Oh, okay.
it was like not like
She
Not
was
a big
doing it
deal.
anyway, so we
Yeah.
might as well put it
she
on
was
film.
sucking on that dick anyway.
Might as well make a porn out of it, sure.
Yeah, it'd be like, you're gonna pay us a little extra, cool, okay.
Yeah.
But no, it's an art film kind of thing. It's a little bit more of an arty film. But anyway, point being is, yeah, Vince he's he doesn't just do normal roles.
Yeah.
man. He takes chances, and
Yeah.
sounds like this was not like your average.
If I had to argue, this is probably the most normal role he's probably done, to be honest with you.
Okay, all right.
Or the normal, like, character-wise. I mean...
But
I
it's not a norm. But I mean, just what I know and read and heard about that character, it's not like your typical. It's not like
It's not your typical astronaut.
right. It's not like
No.
Val Kilmer in Red Planet
No.
or Gary Sinise or it's
Yeah.
definitely a different kind
He's
of
all
spin.
out for himself. That is for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, would you just shut up and listen to the others? Just let them talk. You're about to kill them all. Just let them fucking talk.
Yeah.
Well,
They
I
might
mean-
come up with another plan. And what do you know? They did.
But he did run the numbers a bunch, and he found out that they couldn't have survived. So...
And then there's that leak, and she's like, no, I'm going to at least do something. He's like, no, let's just fuck. It's okay. You don't really need to do that. And then she finds a leak, and she stops it. And then what does he do? He like turns everything on or something. And she's like, no, what are you doing? We have to preserve that. He's like, no, it's pointless anyway.
Yeah, because they would have been dead. And
The whole damn movie is pointless. Nothing happens in this goddamn movie.
no, they find the structures and the aliens, and they...
And they don't know anything about it. They just walk by them.
Well, no, because they're eventually going to find out what's going on. She was still exploring. I mean, they're not going
And
to
it
find
never
out.
goes back.
Well, because the movie ends with them going to the valley,
Exactly.
and they have water,
and
they
it,
have
and it
air.
ends.
Yeah, but you're not supposed to find out all the mysteries of Mars in 5 minutes,
Mars wasn't built in a day, Megan.
She doesn't even like talk about it. She's like, oh shit, there's these like aliens here and they're mummies or whatever. And I took it like they weren't even from Mars. They were other people that came there and died there. I could have interpreted that wrong, but
Maybe. Yeah, I think they
either
were.
way, I would have paused and like checked them out real quick or something, not just walk by them.
Well, I think she was trying to find out where that tunnel led, and she was going to come back.
Whatever. I don't.
There's a lot of shots that I loved in this movie because they had a found footage feel, even though it wasn't
Yeah,
a found
it was
footage.
a cool shot. That's why I wish they would have actually done something with it instead of just have her walk by them like it was no big deal. Like, psh, aliens, not new to me.
Yeah.
Whatever. I
I
just
see
wish
your
they would have
point.
done something more with that. That would have made it cooler instead of a movie about nothing.
Damn, boy, she shot your shit down.
I'm just obsessed with this movie, and I know there's parts of it that are fucking awful, but I just love this movie. Since the first night I watched it, I was just like enthralled by this.
Yeah, I'll watch it. I'll give it a chance.
I remember texting Vito after I watched it. It's like, oh my God, this movie's about nothing. I totally thought it was one he hated. He's like, what? What do you mean? We'll be having words about that. I'm like, oh, shit. I just ruffled the wrong feathers there.
It's all right. It makes for a better podcast.
Yeah.
But seriously, guys, I know probably nobody's heard of this movie because it's kind of a rare one, but Stranded, check it out.
No, don't bother.
Well, okay, on that note, then let's talk about a movie that is a little bit more well received and everything, and we will move on to Mission to Mars. That is Vito's top choice. Oh, it wasn't my top choice, but it's a real good one. It made it in there for a reason. Vito has like 500 notes on this movie.
Look at all that.
No, it's just one page.
Oh,
Oh,
okay,
okay.
okay.
But this is kind of a play-by-play of the movie. You know.
Oh, okay.
But
So it's
that's
just a
why. Because if
placeholder.
we're gonna talk scenes or whatever, then I can reference it. But
Gotcha. So okay, again, it's one of the 2000, start of the 2000s movies. Did a little bit better.
yeah, because
Not a ton better, but I mean,
No.
it enough that they didn't lose their ass on it.
Yeah.
But it definitely was better than like Red Planet
that's for sure.
and everything. Directed by Brian De Palma.
De Palma.
Yeah. For that, man, tons of good movies. Dress to Kill. What else? The Untouchables, Mission Impossible. I love Untouchables. That's a great movie.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah, we'll get into like those kind of movies eventually. Carrie.
Carrie, yeah.
Throwback to our Stephen King discussion and everything. Great cast in this movie.
Oh yeah.
Cheadle, Don Cheadle, Gary
So
Sinise.
good in this movie.
Fuck
man.
yeah. I love Don Cheadle, man. That there's an actor that I hope his day comes, man. You know what I mean? Like, he's done so many great roles, and we see people like, it took a while, but we see people like Morgan Freeman get a lot of, respect, and some of these other now guys like Samuel Jackson are getting really respected. I really hope Don Cheadle fucking gets respect, man. I mean, people like, oh yeah, but I mean, I really fucking dig that dude. He's awesome.
Yeah, he's great.
And Gary Sinise, of course, Tim Robbins, Jerry O'Connell, Connie Nielsen, the ex Miss Lars Ulrich.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
You didn't know
No,
that? Yeah.
no.
She got her ass to Lars. You like that? I just pulled
Nice.
that out like a fucking jag-off. But yeah, she was married, and she played Hippolyte in Wonder Woman.
I haven't seen Wonder Woman.
Really?
Yeah.
It's good.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, it's fucking
Chris
good.
Pine.
Oh yeah.
Enough
yeah,
said.
yeah.
Oh boy.
Mm.
Yeah. Chris
It's a
Pine.
period piece movie though, isn't it? Like set in the 30s or something.
Well, it's about a bunch of broads. Of
Oh,
course, it's a
yeah.
period piece.
Wow. Mr. Pickles does not approve.
I think Mr. Pickles is like, fucking good on you, son. We're going out for pickle shots later. No, I'm just kidding. No, I was just being an asshole.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, yeah. But anyway, yeah, she played Hippolyte in it. She was good in it. Yeah, good cast. And I mean, yeah, go ahead.
This, I went back before about the Deep Impact versus Armageddon thing. This is the emotional drama of the two, man. This
Right.
movie is so fucking heavy in some parts, man.
Mm.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh yeah.
seriously heavy in some parts.
Yeah. Yeah.
The scene where Tim Robbins is floating, literally he's going to burn up in the atmosphere.
Right.
And his wife is trying to go save him. He's like, no, you can't do that. And he takes his helmet off.
Right,
That's like a
so-
fucking gut-wrenching
Ugh.
scene, man.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God.
That was terrible.
Oh.
Yeah.
And then when they land on the planet, they notice that, they know Don Cheadle's still alive, and he's freaking out because he can't believe he's seen people for the first time in like years,
Right.
Mhm.
Right. Yeah.
Mm.
I was like, wouldn't it be funny if when Tim Robbins is like floating, like getting ready, he takes his helmet off, and all of a sudden Morgan Freeman starts narrating, and it's like,
That's
Andy
the time.
Andy burned up in the atmosphere. His wife couldn't do anything about it. Like all fucking Shawshank style and shit. But anyway, yeah, it's a really good movie. One of the reasons that it didn't make it higher for me, aside from that, I admit I kind of forgot a little bit about it at first. Some of the dialogue's a little clunky. Well, the one thing that I when I looked into it, they brought up, what I didn't know was that De Palma came in to direct this movie after they had already written, the whole screenplay was done, it was cast, they had another director that was supposed to do it and everything, and then they had a falling out with that guy, I think over money, which ironically De Palma came in and then basically was like, yeah, no, that dude was right, you need more money for this, like, because some of these things need to be fixed. We should put more time and money into fixing some of these things in the script. The CG needs to be better at times, like all this kind of stuff. But at that point it was like, no, so it's kind of interesting because I'm kind of like, okay, how different would this have been had De Palma been involved from the start?
Yeah.
And had more time and say so to like fix some of the clunkier things about this movie, you know. But that being said, it's still a great movie. You know, it like some of the other things I brought up, it suffers a little bit from time indicative special
like the
effects.
CG alien at the end.
Yeah. Exactly.
But that whole concept, dude, face on Mars. Like, I was obsessed with the face on Mars when I was a kid. So when I watched this movie, I was like, holy fuck, this is amazing.
Like this shit, like
the monkey and the tetrahedron.
Look, folks. Look at this fucking asshole. Look at this fucking monkey. This guy's a fucking jagoff. Look at this fucking look at that face. That guy's a fucking dick. I'm pretty sure this guy used to fucking walk around the east side when I was growing up.
Oh my gosh.
Look at him. No, that's not a racist. I'm not saying it's a racist. The guy I'm talking about was white. So I'm gonna say, but look at him. Look at that fucking hair and that beard. He looks just like this fucking guy Gus that used to walk around the east side.
He also looks like, if you guys ever played Donkey Kong Country for Super Nintendo, he looks like the grandpa Donkey Kong. That's what he looks
yeah, he
like.
does. Donkey Kong Country. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, yeah, like from that's in that book, the whole thing.
But literally, the whole
face
like
on Mars.
we got to plug in the correct DNA sequence in order to gain access to the face. That was fucking awesome. And then find out that the Martians had to abandon the planet, and they ended up seeding all life on Earth with their DNA. I thought that was fucking cool, man.
I love that. Yeah, I love
great.
that concept. Yeah, I thought. So I said it's a great movie, great cast. It's a great story. There's just certain things that could have been better.
Yeah.
And I think that probably would have been fixed had they gotten off the ground on the right foot. And they salvaged it, they saved it. But yeah, the movie cost as it was. I mean, I get it because the movie cost $100 million. $100 million. And for a movie that was made almost 20 years ago, that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And it only made like 110 mil or 111 mil. So it wasn't a fucking bomb, but they would have liked to have at least doubled that money or something, and it did not happen. So yeah. Anyway, I mean, that's all I really. Yeah, I think it's a great movie. Why does it? Just real quick, why would you say that was your number one?
The whole connection of the face on Mars, the Martians seeding all life on Earth, and the fact that Gary Sinise went with them at the end, because I would totally go with them at the end.
Yeah, that was cool.
I would have to see where they went and meet them. Like, I would have to do that.
Yeah, exactly.
And it has one of my favorite quotes from there is, "But what if there's more? In all our myths and every human culture, Mars has always held a special attraction. What if that means something? The universe is not chaos, it's connection. Life reaches out for life. That's what we were born for, isn't it? To stand on a new world and look beyond it to the next one. It's who we are."
And you know what? You're right. That is a great quote. And taking it out of context from the movie and thinking about it now, I mean, that's a good point of what I brought up at the very beginning of this podcast when I was like, what is the attraction? Why, you don't see people just freaking out over Jupiter or Saturn or Uranus.
Some people do.
Yeah, now and then people do freak out about Uranus. That's true. Uranus can be pretty freaky. Gaseous.
Oh yeah.
It's gaseous too. Yeah. But anyway, it never ends. But no, it's a good point. Yeah. I mean, it there's something there. There's something more there. There's some more kind of connection. Yeah, we'll save that for another discussion. We've already been talking about that. We'll talk. That's going to be a whole other discussion. But cool, man.
Not enough time in this one.
No. And we're winding down now as it is. Yeah, great. Well, then let's talk about the movie that made our number ones and was in there in the middle of your list. Let's talk about
War of the Worlds.
The Worlds. Yeah, I mean, like I said, we already introduced it. We talked a lot about it earlier and stuff. I mean, Meg, why did you make that your number one?
Because like you said, it's kind of the foundation for all the other Mars movies.
Right.
And it started with the book in freaking 1897.
Yeah.
I mean, how long has this been going on? It's kind of the start of everything.
Okay.
It's the foundation. That's why.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It endures.
it
you know?
does, man. I mean, it's kind of a timeless movie to me and story, you know.
I mean, we talked a little bit earlier about so the 1953 movie, like we said, it was directed by George Pell, starred Gene Barry and Ann Robinson. That movie, more so than from the book, I think it kind of borrowed more closely from the adaptation for the Orson Welles radio broadcast. And real quick, I'm sure most people have probably heard about this, but on Halloween or just October 30th, 1938, Orson Welles had a show. Wasn't even a real popular show. Became real popular after this. He had a radio show. This is pre-TV. He had a radio show, and they decided they were going to do War of the Worlds, and they were struggling for a while trying to figure out how are we going to do this, make it interesting, you know? And they came up with this cool concept, which was new at the time, of let's do it like reality. So it was like the first reality TV show, like reality radio show. Let's do it like reality, you know, or like almost found footage reality kind of movie thing where it's like we're going to, you know, play it off. And what was cool, there was all these like things that fell into place because for one thing, they didn't have any sponsors because it was such a small, shitty little show, you know. They didn't have, you know, borax, you know, soap, you know. They didn't
Roma
have
Wine presents Suspense.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So they didn't have any sponsors. So they didn't have mandated commercial breaks they had to take. If you had a sponsor, it was like every 4.5 minutes you have to or 6.5 minutes, whatever, you have to break because you have to get so many of these commercials in. They didn't have to do that. So they were able to just keep broadcasting for like going on and on. So what happened was when the show first started, when it first came on the air that night, they did a disclaimer. What you're about to hear is a teleplay. It's not real. This is all fictional, blah, blah, blah. And then they went into this whole thing. And they played it off like they were playing music and stuff. And they had a radio announcer. And then all of a sudden they had to cut in. Ladies and gentlemen, you know, we're interrupting to tell you about, you know, that something is landed on a farm in Southern California. And authorities don't know what it is and blah, blah, blah. You know, well, now, you know, now back to your program. And they went back to this pseudo program, and then a minute or two later they'd cut back in. Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt your broadcast again to let you know that there's been things cited. So here's the problem. So if you didn't tune in to the first 30 seconds or minute or whatever of this program, you didn't know what you were hearing wasn't the real fucking deal. Now, it would have been a dead giveaway had they gone to a commercial break. Right. And we'll be back with War of the Worlds after this message from, you know, fucking Scrubbing Bubbles or whatever. But they didn't. They didn't break for 50 minutes.
Wow.
50 minutes they went on. So that was a long time of all this stuff going on and everything. And people freaked the fuck out. I mean, like, there was mass chaos across the country. There were people rioting because they thought the end of the world was coming.
Yeah.
They were rioting. There were people running into churches. It was not unlike scenes in the movie.
Yeah.
It sounds just like the movie.
Yeah.
Right. And
exactly how people would react.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. And there was all this stuff. The police came down to the fucking radio station and like basically all of a sudden there was just all these fucking uniform guys like storming. They were trying to break into the studio. They had the doors locked. And they wanted to keep going. They didn't want to break it, but there was all these police that were like, motherfuckers, you guys got to stop this shit. It was a big mess. It was a big deal. Yeah. And it basically made Wells famous. I mean, he was already somewhat known, you know what I mean?
Maybe locally or something, right? But
but this was what like really made him a name, you know, and everything. Yeah, because this was pre-Kane and all that shit. So, yeah. I mean, even that in and of itself, if that was the only thing to talk about, like with War of the Worlds, that would be fucking legendary.
Yeah.
You know? But then they came out, George Pell came out with this movie, and for its time, the effects were great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, obviously you watch it now and it's, no. We
Well,
could,
they won awards for their special effects.
They did, and they should have. And they should have. I mean, this movie was dramatic. It had some funny moments. Some points weren't even intentionally funny. When he throws
We're friends.
Yeah, we're friends. Everybody knows what the white flag is for. Yeah, there's some funny shit in that movie, even if they didn't mean to. I noticed these totally arbitrary, stupid things. I think I mentioned it to you before, but the scene when they go to the fucking, there's a square dance tonight in town, and they go to that square dance, and I've heard a fair amount of square dance callers. That fucking square dance caller in that movie is the most like dead inside square dance.
That was terrible. That's not how you do that. That's not how you call a square dance.
It's like it's not in time at all with because it's supposed to be like run just in time. Like even Bugs Bunny got it right. Everybody form a square. Like this guy's just like, now go to your left, sail around, don't be slow. I don't fucking know. They paid me $5 to be here. It's like, and like the music's like at this time. And I don't know why. Ever since I was young, it just irked the shit out of me. I'm like, that's a terrible square dance, right?
Yeah, that's terrible.
She got my back. Yeah, and it just makes me laugh. Now I love it. Like I love when it comes to that part. It just fucking makes me laugh every time you listen to him. It's like, yeah, he's like too busy like sipping whiskey in between lines, just like. It's like, that's right, turn around. It's bad. But anyway, when he throws that board, when Jim Barry throws that board at that fucking alien and that thing, what the choice they made, like, what should the alien? So he hits the alien, it hurts him, it scares him, and the alien runs off. What should the alien sound like? Should sound like my annoying fat ass wife at home when she sees a mouse. She does this blood curdling shriek. It pisses me off every time, and everything. Let's make it sound like that. Who would think that this fucking Martian alien would go like it screams like a woman? Like hilarious. My dad used to tell me when I was a kid that the reason it screamed like that is because he threw the board and there was a nail in it and it hit the alien in the ass. That was my dad's exact word. Yeah, the board, with a nail in it just hit that alien right in the ass. And he screamed like that. I was like, oh, okay.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. I'd probably scream like that too if a fucking nail hit me in the ass, right? And then, that leads us into one of your other choices, which was then the somewhat of a remake and another adaptation for the 2005 War of the Worlds.
Yeah, with Tom Cruise and Dakota Fanning.
Yeah.
This little girl.
Yeah, it's got great reviews. I wish I could talk a little more about it, but I've only seen bits and pieces like we mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it was the fourth highest grossing film of 2005.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one we'll have to revisit it another time because, like I said, it's one of those ones that I've always wanted to see more of, and the bits I saw. It's significantly different than
it's majorly different than the other one.
I think it follows the book pretty closely. Right?
Yeah, the aliens are more a resemblance of the book and everything. It's like they're not out to figure out what's going on and fix the issue or anything. They're just out to survive what the hell's going on around them.
Right.
So I don't want to give away too much if you really want to see it.
Don't.
So.
Yeah, no, I know enough about it that that one I'd actually like to wait and see.
There's like one thing I was like, oh, okay, and then I was like, then they reneged it or whatever.
Right.
And that's all I'm going to say on that. And I was like, oh, that's a shame. I wish you would have stuck to your guns on that one. But I don't want to give too much away again.
Yeah, I definitely want to see it. I should have watched it before this episode, but I didn't have time.
We blew it. We blew it on all of Megan's. Poor Meg.
Yeah, just leave me out there on my own.
Yeah. Someday we'll have to have a party or something. We'll watch War of the Worlds 2005 and Mars Needs Moms.
Okay. I'm okay with that.
But I don't know about that Cave Women on Mars thing.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe.
We'll see.
Yeah, maybe we'll put that on after midnight instead of a fucking Ginger Dead Man movie or something next party. We'll see.
That'll clear out the room for
I was
you.
just say we'll see how quickly it clears out the room in comparison.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Oh, and it's narrated by Morgan Freeman.
Oh.
Oh.
We were just talking about that, so
So you do
Extra
like
bonus.
the intro narration then, like they did with the
Yeah, I don't
53
remember.
one? All right.
But all right, man. Yeah, I think people are probably sick to fucking death of Mars at this point.
yeah, we Mars the shit out of them.
Yeah, we did Mars the shit out
We
of
even
them.
cut a lot of shit out that we
Yeah.
did just to do a whole separate thing
Yeah.
on it.
Real quick, let's talk about honorary mentions.
Okay, so the one movie that I was struggling with to keep in my top 5 was Capricorn 1.
Right.
Yeah,
I adore this movie,
that was
guys.
good.
Just a brief synopsis. The tagline for the movie is "The mission was a sham. The murders were real." It's about a fake Mars landing that NASA constructs in order to save the space program.
Yep.
Think about the fake moon landing, but placed on Mars.
So are you saying the moon landing was fake?
I used to think so when I was a kid. Very much so. I thought it was fake.
Yeah.
But now I've kind of come around.
Yeah. Again, that's going to be for another discussion.
Yeah.
We're saving that.
But I took this out because it has very little to do with Mars compared to the other movies we're talking about, but it's an incredibly great conspiracy thriller movie that you should fucking watch for sure.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm not even going to bring up about that when you look at the cover of it or whatever, the one ad I saw when it was like, and the murders were real. And they put and the murders were real are placed right underneath O.J. Simpson's
Yeah.
picture. And it's
O.J.
like,
Simpson is one of the quote unquote stars of this movie. He plays an astronaut who has very little to do in the movie.
Yeah.
But
dude, yeah, don't even get me started on this fucking movie.
it's got
because-
Kojak, dude.
I know.
Keep your
Kojak.
fucking head down.
Yeah.
That was the best
Kojak.
part.
Elliot
I love
Gould.
that
Great,
guy.
wasn't
There's elements of this
He's over
movie.
there.
Yeah, there's elements of this movie that I really like, and then there's elements of this movie that are just fucking horrible. And that's why I couldn't make it into my list. And it's not a thanks but no thanks because it is good, but it just, like I told you before, all the Elliot Gould stuff, just I'm like, it's so bad. Like the scripting, the acting, like the interaction, like they're trying to, all of a sudden that part of the movie, like the rest of it is like for its time modern, you know, and it plays very well, a lot of tension. And then whenever it gets to the reporter stuff, it's like all of a sudden they tried to turn it into a 1945 movie, you know, where like it's like, you're a hot dame, you know, out on the case, and it's like, yeah, you seem real slick there, it's, you know, blah blah blah. Like the way they talk to each other, like him and Karen Black talking.
Yeah.
I was just like, this is awful. And then like so much of it was just so completely unplausible. It's more plausible believing that they fucking walked on Mars than the fact that in like 3 minutes somebody came and tampered with his car and made it
They're
so-
professionals, man. They know what they're doing.
Come on, dude. And then he fucking goes 100 miles an hour and drives off a fucking drawbridge thing, you know, nose first into the water. And then the next scene is he's just like, dope, de dope, de dope. I'm just swimming away. I'm perfectly fine. And I'm like, oh my God, this is terrible. There's so much of it. Him on that plane when James Brolin like holding on to that plane. When
That's one of the most dangerous plane stunts ever put on film,
It
though.
should be. It was ridiculous.
Those helicopters are really hitting the top of that plane. Like that was all. That
Oh,
was
wow,
all
really?
Yeah. One of the most dangerous stunts ever created. On
And it
film.
was so worth it because it looked horrible. And it was so unbelievable. And
That's so funny.
they're shooting. I'm like, these guys in these helicopters couldn't fucking hit a goddamn 500-mile wide target, man. Like, oh, it was so bad. It was so bad. I like that joke that the one astronaut tells when he's climbing that mountainside, though. That one.
Don't tell me my cat died. You got to break it to me easy.
Right. That is a good joke.
That was
though.
good, man.
I
Sam Waterston from fucking Law and Order. I mean,
Yeah,
that's,
exactly. Yeah, it's a good cast. It's a good movie, but yeah, okay. Anyway, was that your?
Yeah, it was my honorable mention. That's the one I was struggling with to keep it up there,
My honorable mention would have been Total Recall.
okay.
You know, which we already talked about. It technically does very much belong in the list, but it's just for me personally, these other ones beat it out.
It's tough, man.
And we'll talk about Recall when we talk about Schwarzenegger. You know, and then what about you? You got an honorable mention?
Probably Total Recall also. Yeah.
Okay, what about Thanks But No Thanks?
So mine is The Last Days on Mars, which came out I think 4 years ago. It's got Liev Schreiber,
Right, let's try.
a couple other main actors. But basically, short synopsis is it's the first manned mission on Mars. On the last day, they find bacterial life, and they end up getting infected with the bacterial life.
Right.
And everybody turns into zombies.
Oh,
and then
that's right.
Then it turns into a fucking slasher zombie movie.
Yeah.
If you want to watch an incredible Mars film with incredible visuals and technology that would be practical, watch the first 32 and a half minutes of this movie because you will fucking love it. Visually, a gorgeous film. The acting, everything is great. But then once they get infected, fucking garbage, man.
Yeah.
You guys fucking ruined it.
Well, you know I wouldn't like it because
No.
I don't like that kind of crap.
First 32 minutes, though, Larry. And then after that, shut it off. But
yeah, that would be even more frustrating that it's so good and then it turns to that.
yeah.
Well, my thanks but no thanks is fucking Mars Attacks. Oh, I remember I had the comic book store. I was at the comic book store when that movie came out, so we got a lot of that merchandise. I just hated everything about it. I hated the look of it.
Stupid aliens.
The stupid aliens. I didn't care. I know that it's a play on the old thing, but I don't know. It was everything I don't like about 1950s sci-fi films. You know, like to me, good. War of the Worlds is a great sci-fi film from that time. Not Mars Attacks. Jack Nicholson. Sometimes I like his, like when we talked about The Shining, I liked his over-the-top acting. And this, it was just so stupid, and it was so, I don't know. It just embodied a lot of things I didn't like about the 1990s entertainment, which is a whole, I won't do it now because we don't have time, but it's a whole other fucking bag of dicks to chew on. I really don't like Mars Attacks, and I feel like it kind of ruined Mars related movies for a while, and then luckily it came back with things like Mission to Mars and stuff, but a few years later. But no, I can't stand that crap. What about you?
Mine is definitely, absolutely, positively Stranded.
Yeah, I kind of figured it would be.
Talk about a wasted
is it
2
just,
hours or
is
whatever.
it just Vince Gallo's character that you don't like, or just
I don't like him. I didn't like the acting. I didn't like that she just walked right past all the cool looking alien dudes. I didn't like that they didn't get rescued at the end of it.
She just didn't like.
I
the
just
whole
didn't.
thing.
Yeah,
She was when she first watched it. She was bitching to me so much about it. She was like, "This fucking movie, oh my god!" And yeah, she thought you didn't like it. She was. I was like, "Oh, I bet he likes it." I was right.
Yep. I was not expecting that reaction. She's like, "What?" I was like, "Oh, I just fucked up big time." Oops.
But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it, folks. This is nice. This is a long one. I know. We appreciate anybody who's hung in there for this whole thing. But yeah, that's it. I'm sure we're going to be talking way more about not just Mars and things like that, but plenty of sci-fi talk. If any of you folks think of movies that were like super obvious that we should have discussed on here, please comment down below. Let us know. We want interaction from you guys. Let us know. One of the big reasons. Yeah, come on. One of the big reasons we
fucking bring it. You didn't like Stranded? Fucking bring it.
Exactly. If you think some of our stuff was great, if you think some of our stuff was terrible choices, we want to know because we want.
All of them are horrible.
Yeah, we want.
You guys don't know anything about movies.
That's probably true. Yeah, there's going to be somebody.
Why there are picks.
Yeah,
exactly. To each their own. But we do want to talk with you guys about it. We want to know more, and let us know. But man, it's been a good time. I've been happy to be back here in the studio.
Yeah.
Yes.
We need to do this again real soon. And actually we are, because we're going to be back here sitting at this table, and it's going to be all sorts of Schwarzenegger stuff all over it. And we're really looking forward to talking about Schwarzenegger. I know Mr. Pickles is going to have things to say. He's going to have a thing or two to say about it, I think his favorite Schwarzenegger movie, is probably going to be Twins. I could see him being a Twins kind of guy.
Twins guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. So, anyway, all right. Thanks, is time guys. For us to say good night. Goodbye, everybody. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, all that shit. Don't disappoint Mr. Pickles. We're saying peace out.
See ya.
Bye.
Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the podcast.
Let us know what you think in the comments, as well as Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter.
Please click on the links in the description to follow us, and make sure you hit that subscribe button below.
And if you want to help us out, please check out our Patreon page as well.
We'll be back with more soon.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Holy shit, did we do it?
Yeah, we did it.